Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. Welcome to the first one shot we've done in a couple of months, actually. And we're going to be playing Cloud Empress. It's a ecological post-apocalyptic science fantasy from Worlds by Watt. And I happen to have a whole bundle of Cloud Empress right here, prepared elegantly, just out of reach for me to show off. It's a lovely little game that we will be exploring, and I believe there's a Kickstarter currently for a slightly fancier version than this, which only came out last year. I have feelings about that, but we won't go into that today. Yeah, let's sort of get on with it. And by that, I mean, let's talk about some other things first. Those things are promo, the usual promo. If you check below these videos, we're live currently on YouTube and Twitch because we dual stream on both of those now. If you check below either of those streams, you will find a number of links to the other sites, links to social media, to Patreon, to Discord, to the merch store, all the usual stuff you might expect. We run a number of weekly campaigns at the moment. Mondays are alternating between We Deal in Lead and Warhammer Fantasy, but we also have Call of Cthulhu hovering on the horizon. Looking forward to that. We do Simbrew on Wednesdays, kind of our flagship campaign, although I'm biased because I run it. And we do the Yellow King fortnightly on Thursdays. That's only just started. If you want to watch the monster first 3.5 hour episode of that, then get yourself. It'll still be on Twitch as well, I imagine, but it's also on YouTube on our live tab. Yeah, and we also run one shots, or attempt to run one shots, around once a month. That's what this is. Yeah, I don't think we have any others of those lined up, but I'm sure some will arrive on the calendar sooner or later. So what I will do is I will bring all the players on first. Who do we have? We have Jonny, we've got Steve, we've got John, and we've got Inga. What a lovely motley crew these are. And what I will do is do a little overview of the world of Cloud Empress. Not so much the rules, we'll just kind of like, as we stumble onto the rules, we'll introduce those. But I just want to give you some sense of the world before the players introduce their characters, because otherwise it might all get very confusing. So I did kind of have a thought on whether to just read out the blurb at the beginning of the Cloud Empress book, but it's quite long, and there's already an intro to the actual story as well. So I didn't want you to just have to listen relentlessly to my voice reading stuff out for a few minutes. So I'll just try and give a kind of summary. So the idea is, in the world of Cloud Empress, the kind of previous existence of the world, whether you view that as our own or a kind of like a world like our own, the people living there, the civilization living there, ruined it horribly. They left the sky overcast, they left the earth and the plants soaked with poison. Any familiarity to the world we're currently living in, entirely coincidental, I'm sure. And what we are in now is an existence called the hereafter, where we are decades, centuries, millennia, some unknown but long amount of time from a more quote unquote civilized world. And now we live in an existence where things have become slightly unmoored, slipped away from reality. There are people who live on the ground known as farmlings who try and eke out an existence in this world that sort of looks like even a slightly idyllic version of ours. There's nature, there's beauty, but it's all soaked with corruption and poison that eventually leads to an early death. There are remnants of earlier civilizations left behind everywhere you go. And above, there are cities floating in the clouds, slowly failing technological utopias dwelled in by people called cloudlings, who in kind of name rule over the people down below, but in practice, it's a bit more loose and less organized than that. In amongst this, there's a very strong yearly cycle. And every summer, kind of the world blooms a little bit and people travel and go on adventures and do all sorts of things that they can't do in the cold, hard winter. But in the summer, also rise the mystical cicada beings known as Imago, who may or may not control the world in some way, or at least direct its flow. They are attracted to a substance called chalk that builds up in people's bodies over time and may or may not be what actually kills them. It's also a substance that people can consume to carry out magical spells. And that means that the Imago go crazy over people's dead bodies. And basically every summer they are birthed and they devour the dead, and they roam across the land, sometimes being worshipped, sometimes being fled from, sometimes being fought, and almost always being feared. Yeah. And every 100 years or so, there is an event called the Century Brood, where more Imago than one can imagine burst out from the ground. Prophecies and brood monks tell everyone that there's just a very strong rumor that the Century Brood is coming a few years early this time round. Some would even say this year, because we are at the beginning of summer, but I suppose we'll have to find that out. And I will read the ending blurb of the which is in no way spoilers of the beginning bit. This is the year of your journey, the summer of the Century Brood, the summer of the missing Empress, the summer of adventure. Welcome to the hereafter. Let's meet our characters, shall we? And I will entice some tension out of the group by randomly rolling to who goes first. It is John. John, why don't you introduce us to who I'm assuming is called Naeus the Penitent?
Yes. Naeus the Penitent is a slight figure in a very old, beat-up tweed suit, with like oversized boot covers. It's a suit that's very obviously not made for this body. Let's put it that way. They are a magician, and they've just spent the past winter living with a village of farmerlings to try and recover fragments of an ancient spell, which they have scribbled down in a little notebook. And they are most recognizable from a pattern of facial tattoos. On one side, like a swirl, like across half the face, and on the other one, just a simple line across the cheek.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. For our next introduction, let's have Inga with Ott the Green, please.
Ott the Green is a lordling in the least camouflage kind of, like just quite ostentatious, like literally wearing like his, like I think it's the debutante sort of socialite sort of kind of clothing. So there's like a large feathered hat. It's all bright colors. It's multicolored, like, you know, robes and flowy things. It's like totally impractical, really, for travel. He's a slightly pudgy lordling, sort of second son of a second son, and is decided that now seems like a really good time to venture off into the world, because he doesn't much like the look of an arranged marriage that's been set up for him. So he's pretty much danced himself right out of a ball or something, like with barely a practical thought in his mind, to go off into the world.
Fair enough. Let's have our penultimate character, which is Jonny.
Hello. I am playing as Ink, who some may know as the hero of Perrytown. Ink is a teenage courier. No family to speak of, so trying to eke out a living himself, traveling around, getting jobs to deliver things cross country to people. He is wearing what looks like some reasonable armor for his station, but it is in pretty bad condition and provides no benefit at present to him in a combat situation. And and the reason for that is that he took a bit of a tumble while on a particularly strenuous delivery job, and until very recently has been in the Tacktown infirmary, having a broken limb reset. So anything more than a little stroll at the moment, and he may pull out his crutches. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure this story will be fine, and you'll have no need for any kind of strenuous activity. Steve, do you want to give us your character, please?
Sure. So yeah, Clay is also pretty young, quite a stocky-looking teenager. He is a sellsword, and he's dressed in this sort of it's like armor. It's called a vinyl covered battle casing, which is looking in better nick perhaps than Ink's, but is kind of showing signs of it's been cleaned a bit, but there's like soot and grime in the various sort of folds and creases of it. Because yes, Clay's last job was essentially burning off invasive spores. So wherever Clay is nearby, you still get a kind of whiff of bonfire and smoke, and
Maybe
that
a
is lingering.
slight fungal tang as well. Yeah, lovely stuff. All right. Well, as to where you are and what is happening, you are currently in a city in the clouds called Delta City. And some of your little backstories there that you've given will weave into what I'm about to say in easy ways, and some not so much. But I'm sure everyone can come up with like a way in which this is where they are and this is why they're going. So let's see. Delta City is a dilapidated old town hanging on for dear life amongst the clouds. The ruling lordling, Amana the Chaste, has mismanaged the city's prospects. Its condensation sails produce half of the water they caught only 10 years ago. Dozens of cloudling soldiers stand on the docks, slung with packs and weapons, guarding the queues for the air barges. People always move in the summer, but this is different. Crowds 2 or 3 times bigger than usual gather to leave for the wastes below. News has spread that the Cloud Empress is walking the earth a mile below, just waiting to be saved. Cloudling soldiers say fortunes will be made, and their greatest wishes will be granted when they save the Empress. Meanwhile, brood monks preach that the century brood has come 10 years early, and they long to rejoin their imago teachers. Your aspirations for travel are far simpler. You reach for summer relaxation after a cold, miserable winter in Delta City. You stand in a much shorter line, the wind whipping away your body heat. You wait to board the Bean Barge, a beaten-up little airship with 2 bean-shaped water tanks. The Bean Barge is past its prime a dozen times over. Whatever its original purpose, it now ferries travelers and supplies from cities above the clouds to the farmlands below. The ship is headed to Tacktown, the lowland waste's largest city. Once landed, the Bean Barge will exchange 1 tank of water for 20 bags of rice. Captain Stello, who you met when agreeing to take passage, is too stubborn to believe recent rumors of the Century Brood unearthing early, and he's in no position to turn down travelers, paying travelers. This is what the docks look like. That's not actually the Bean Barge, because it doesn't match the description of the Bean Barge, and there's another picture of the Bean Barge. But anyway, that's what it kind of looks like as you're kind of making your way towards the queue to board. And as we do so, why don't we have, you know what? Do we think we know each other from our stay in Delta City? Maybe some of us do, maybe some of us don't. Does anyone have any particular desires one way or the other?
I think I'm probably pretty new to town. I think I'm moving fairly quick. I don't think I've been hanging around for too long.
Fair enough.
I think as a sellsword, I'll have been trying to like introduce myself and look around for work and whatnot. So I'll have been perhaps a little bit more chatty than.
Fair enough.
I think I've only been here a short amount of time, probably like up from the village and now heading back down. But I do like to work wherever I go, and I have medicine knowledge, so I could have conceivably met Ink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been like working at the clinic that you're occasionally confined to, or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good. So how about we have you three know each other then, and maybe Clay got talking to one of the other, one of you two. Maybe you even know each other from a previous thing. Ink travels around a lot, so perhaps you've bumped into Clay before. And let's say that all three of you are standing waiting on the docks. Ink may be on crutches to help you, like with a relatively long wait as the bean barge was like loaded with its cargo. And as you're standing there, as I say, like it's very it's actually a very warm day, but the wind is extremely cold. And is definitely kind of setting you shivering a bit, even though the sun is quite bright. And as you do so, you see someone else walking up to the back of the queue, and it is a lordling dressed in quite a flamboyant fashion. Would you say it's fairly likely, Inga, that the flamboyant parts of your costume are green?
I think certainly the feather on the hat is a bold green. The rest is a bit multicolored, but there's definitely like trimmings of green as like the kind of core color.
Absolutely. Well, go ahead and join the queue and perhaps interact with each other.
I think I will breeze my way up to the front of the queue, actually.
Well, if you do that, then certainly you can see that sort of ahead of you is a small-ish and very earnest-looking person, kind of taking everyone's details. They're stood with like a sort of clipboard and some notes, and they have small horns on their head. And as you kind of like move towards the front, you can see that at the front, kind of talking to them, are a relatively small old woman with like an elaborate, quite a precisely carved mask, and a really big looming individual wearing a kind of ill-fitted brood monk outfit. And as you kind of wander to the front, the very large individual sort of steps in front of you and goes, "Back of the queue."
But I don't think you understand. I need to get onto this barge.
I all need to get onto the barge, Lordling. Back of the line. He seems extremely aggressive for a brood monk. Go on, Jonny.
I will whistle and say, "We found you." I don't know where we are in the queue, but like
you're at the back. You're at the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a long queue. There's only like two groups of two people ahead of you, but.
Oh yes, you. Yeah. Oh. Well, I found my people. And I'll go back over. Sorry, do I know you?
No, just
I'm sure you know me.
Of course. I just thought that perhaps I could save you the disagreement.
Very dutiful of you. Yes. Well, well done. Who are you again? Sorry.
I'm Ink. I don't know if you've spent much time in Perrytown, but if so, you may know who I am.
And you other lot?
I'm Clay. Nice to meet you.
You look like a useful sort of chap.
Naeus.
Right, Naeus, Clay, Ink of Perrytown. Got you. Well, I'm sure I don't need to make my own introductions, of course, but of course you'll recognise me as Opt the Green. Yeah, so how long is this queue moving then? How long have we got to wait around here?
Even as you say that, kind of the queue shuffles forward as the old woman and the looming brood monk kind of walk up the gangplank towards the hovering bean barge. Ahead of you are only another two individuals. One, they look like a lordling or lower lordling. She's kind of like holding herself a bit oddly, like canted to one side, and is accompanied by a servant who seems to be hissing stuff at her, sort of half under her breath, but they're talking to the individual at the front now, so hopefully you won't be too long.
I only have to speak it and on we move. Wonderful. All right. You're all heading down then as well, are you?
Yes.
You're going to be all right there? Yeah, that looks like a bit of a duff leg you've got there.
Oh, no, Naeus is helping me out. I'll be fine. I can walk on it, just not for very long. And I thought we might be standing here a while. So best to take the rest when I can. A lot of moving around in my work. What is it you do?
I don't understand. Sorry. Work. I mean,
yeah,
I
see.
have many interests. I have many leisurely interests, but I'm not a bad dancer. There's some bits of reading I like to indulge in. I'm often to be found down by the library. Yes, a little bit of a fencing here and there. Not bad with the old blade, if I do say so myself. Won a competition or two. Yes.
Very nice.
Oh,
Any
your
prize
line of
money?
work, though, you say? Oh no, we don't. Not on things like that. No. It's more honors and promises and things like that of a much more valuable nature.
Yes.
And what brings you here?
Sudden panic in Art's face as he realizes he probably shouldn't have been quite as ostentatiously himself. He'll take off his hat and sort of hold it. It doesn't help much with disguise at all. Just travel. Seeing the world, getting out of the library, seeing these things, you know that. Yes, what you for work? That you're heading down for work? Is that work? You're a working chap.
Me?
Oh, yes. Well, all of you, I suppose. You all look like
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are all working chaps.
Always looking for the next job. Yes.
Wonderful. Very, very good, all of you. I'm sure. Yes. Well, what a pleasure to meet you all. What a fine start to this little journey.
Shakes hands, wanders down the line.
I'll nudge Naeus and say, "Who do you think would win in a sword fight?"
Between you and him?
No, those two.
It's very apparent that Ott does not even carry a sword, by the way.
I can't help but wonder if this is influenced by the fact that yesterday was the king's birthday. So, as this develops, the two individuals in front kind of go past the person at the front of the queue and move up the gangplank. You can't help but notice that, like, one of them is the one who was stood oddly is definitely sort of lurching a little bit, as if having a little bit of difficulty walking, as she carries on up to the deck. And then in front of you is the individual I described earlier, who introduces himself as Small Onion. They are the ship's first mate, and kind of greets you all by name, and scurries between you person to person, kind of like taking each of your travel bags and kind of placing them in a very precise way next to the gangplank, before turning to you and saying, well, everyone else is already aboard. If I could just confirm your details here. So we have Ink the courier. Yes. We have Clay the sellsword. Is that correct?
Clay grins widely. Yes.
We have a Lordling Ott. And we have a magician with us, Neus. Very, very good. Are you all traveling together?
Oh yes, these are my good friends here. Yes, of course we're all boarding together.
Wonderful. Well then, obviously you are aware we have limited space on the beam barge, but it won't take us all night to get till the night to get to down to the waist. So I'm sure room can be found. You might have to just kind of like bunch together, but that's, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well then, first things first. Oh gosh, I hate to say it, but I will also need your weapons. Don't worry, they'll be secured below deck until we land, but it is the captain's orders, for everyone's safety. For everyone's safety.
I'll just pull out a gun and hand it to Small Onion with no explanation.
Oh, thank you.
Clay will sort of unclip the sort of bellow-like arrangement, which is actually the flame bellows. So not exactly, it's more a sort of a tool than a weapon, but Clay will hand that over. And also a plastic pouch containing what looks like dried fungus. It's an explosive spore.
Oh, I will be very careful with this. And the belt, rather heavy. Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Master Magician and Master Lordling, do you have anything?
I will shrug and hold my tweed jacket open to show no kind of offensive weapon whatsoever.
I think it's pretty obvious that Ott is not carrying something like a sword, but we'll just say, like, if only I could hand over my mind to you, my good woman, but I'm afraid I'll have to keep that one on me. Nothing else I'm afraid to hand over.
I'm not a woman, but thank you. Right. Wonderful. Moving on. All this gear here will be held at the base of the gangplank, and then if you scoot your way up, and if you could, until we unmoor, if you could find yourself just a nice spot to stand on the deck. The captain prefers it that no one goes below deck until we're off, if that's all right.
Why?
Well, because the engines, they need room, starting and stopping the engines is a difficult process, and sometimes is not without it's for safety reasons.
Of course. Thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome aboard the beam barge. They kind of gesture towards the hovering ship.
You've done a few of these sorts of trips before, then, have you? You lot? Not normally sent, left aboard before. Seemed to find that a bit unusual, Neus.
It's just normally when they're unmooring, they want you in a place where you can hold on to something. In case of turbulence, fall over the edge. But every ship's different. I'm not an engineer, so I don't think I am. So I can't really comment on it.
These other ships you've been on, they normally have private cabins or something like that.
Oh, no. No.
Sleepover style. Got it.
Yeah. Yes.
I take it we all move up the gangplank, which is basically like a rope bridge that's on a bit of a tight incline upwards. So maybe Ink has a little bit of trouble getting to the top of it before you find yourself on a fairly small deck in size. It looks to be relatively well polished and well kept. It has of what you can see, there are some stairs leading down to a lower deck. There is a bridge at the front, which has a large set of quite hefty looking double doors in front of it, which are closed. At the aft, you can see that there's kind of like a large, bulky sort of outer frame, which you suspect is like perhaps holding in or some of the mechanisms, and then you can see a number of sort of you're not sure if they're rudders or just protuberances at the back, and the only other things on the actual deck are two tall, what look like storage tanks. One of them is a little bit cracked and seems to be made of plaster steel. There's water dripping from its poorly repaired cracks, and there's a fire hose kept in a mounted box on the side of the tank. The other one looks to be empty and well worn with age, and has a large fading image of a bean painted on the side. On the deck, you can see Small Onion bringing people's stuff up, kind of one by one, and you can see the old lady and the hulking brood monk kind of like stood a little further away.
I'll help Ink across the rope bridge gangplank.
Thank you. Once I'm up there, I've got 4 points of contact, so I'll be I should be all right with any movement.
At first, I was like, "Is there a stat called contact?"
If I had 4 points in it, I wouldn't be confident about
No.
it.
Given this is a D100 game, no, not necessarily.
I guess once we're on board, just finding somewhere we can lean against in case of turbulence.
Yeah, I mean there is a railing. There's railings on both, as you'd hope, on both sides of the deck. And I'm going to say there's little railings around those big storage tanks as well, so you can hold on to them. It isn't shifting too much. It's fairly steady. It's like a a naval ship at dock.
What are the other passengers doing? Anything notable from other passengers?
You
you've
can
seen?
see that over maybe nearish the bridge, you can see that the small older lady is sort of looking all kind of up and around her with interest and kind of peering over the rail and appearing to maybe like try and see something down through the clouds. Utterly impossible at this altitude. And the big hulking brood monk is sort of stood near her, just kind of like, he doesn't really appear to be doing anything. He's just kind of like casually kind of look. He's definitely kind of checking things out around him. But like, other than that, doesn't seem to be actually occupied with anything.
And like, we were at the back of the queue. Is there anyone else still kind of coming on, or does it look like we're kind of getting ready to take off now?
This does seem to be it, although no one has raised it. But given that there's no kind of roles to be made for this kind of thing in the game, I'm happy to tell you that the two others ahead of you don't seem to be on the deck.
And they look like passengers rather than sort of crew.
Yeah, definitely. They were dressed like a lordling and their servant.
Do you think they know the captain? Maybe they've got to go and see them while they set off. Like a special
there are
experience.
Yes, maybe there are some private cabins or something. I can't believe they wouldn't have mentioned something like that to me. Rather rude. Maybe there's bathrooms down below or something like that. Actually, what do there's not going to be any bathrooms up here. They must be down below. Now that I think of the practicalities of these things.
I pull out a small wrapped item and unwrap and say, a blueberry pie?
They'll go on then.
It's very generous.
Where did you get that from?
Well, I travel a lot. I've got to have food with me.
Thank you.
If everyone takes one, there's 3 pieces. So I then look down sadly at my like wax wrap, but don't like I don't make a deal out of it, and I just put it back in my pocket.
Naeus will break his in half and give half to Ink.
Oh, thank you, very kind.
You need to keep your strength up.
Yeah. Is Small Onion still around?
Yeah, they're like traveling back and forth up and down the gangplank, but yes, broadly speaking.
I'm not gonna use my crutches. I'm gonna have my crutches under my arm and kind of walk over and say, did the other 2 make it on board that were ahead of us? If they,
Yes. Some people just don't follow polite requests, Master Ink. Or maybe that one of them looked a little unsteady. Perhaps they've had to go to the bathroom down below. Either way, don't concern yourself about it. I'm sure it's absolutely fine. I will check on them momentarily. But thank you for staying on the deck.
I'll smile and go back. It seems the bathrooms are below deck. You'll be glad to know.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ink. Wonderful.
One of the
good intel.
One of the more scintillating RPG mysteries we've now wrapped. There we go.
Random table for bathroom location.
Yeah. For more mysteries like this, watch Yellow King on alternating Thursdays.
I don't think I have ever had to answer the question of where the bathroom is in an RPG before.
Which is why most RPGs are rubbish. They're not realistic. Okay, there we go. Is there anything else we want to do while we're on deck? Anything else we want to interact with, have a look around, or are we just kind of spending time until the beam barge departs?
Yeah, I think this is maybe my first time, so I might have a bit of a kind of curious look around. And like if you mentioned, the other people, there was some stuff that they were looking at. I might try peering over and having a look. Just
absolutely,
see what everyone else is up to, sort of thing. But
absolutely, and you kind of go near the rails where the little old lady was kind of peering over, and you look down and you see nothing but, like, you're way above the clouds here. You can see nothing but an almost completely unbroken bed of white far below you. If you have any kind of vertigo whatsoever, which you might not as a cloudling, kind of like a lordling, you might imagine. But if anyone did have anything like that, they would have a sickening lurch at the bottom of their stomach. And I'm saying that because I would.
I think Art does as well.
Fair enough.
Indoors.
Yes, sure. You, as you are doing so, you hear a little voice near your elbow, just saying, "Oh, I think they're down there.
Who's down there? Sorry.
Oh, I think they're down there. People have been saying, and I think it's been true. They are. Oh, I think they're being born this year. So many of them. So many of them. I can hear their songs now.
Matt, would that be enough for me to know who I think they is referring to in this instance?
Yeah, you think
Yeah.
so. She is dressed in a kind of quite a brood monk fashion. She's probably referring to the Imago and probably alluding to the rumors of the Century Brood emerging early.
Oh, yes. Well, I suppose they could. That's what everybody's saying. I suppose it must be true. Yes. You can't see them from here, though, can you?
No, not yet, not yet. But that is why I'm leaving, to hear the songs again. I am counting my last weeks on my fingers, young man. I am going to the feeding grounds. She starts humming an
Right.
odd kind of like high trilling noise.
Didn't get the return ticket then.
No, I go to relinquish my bones.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
You feel an unwelcome large presence just behind you, and a voice says, "He's not bothering you, is he, Mother Menfa?" She looks around and says, "Oh, no. He's absolutely fine. No need to fuss yourself."
Oh,
And she refers to him as Genmo as well, just so you know. That's what he's called. He fixes you with a very unwelcoming, intimidating glare.
yes. Well, nice to see you again. And I'll turn off and head back to the others.
As you turn and head away, you hear Mother Menfa under her breath, kind of like repeating lines over and over again, like they're a kind of catechism or poem. Imago are afraid of water. Imago are temporarily disoriented by bright lights. Imago feed on the bones of the dead. You return to your group.
Have any of you lot seen any of these Imago in real life? Then that Mother Mentha, she said her name was. She's offering herself up for them. Her time has come, apparently.
I would say that any of you who have certainly any of you traveling down to the Waste will have seen Imago almost every summer of your lives, but I'm willing to believe that a cloudling shut-in like Ott the Green might see them as somehow as like a kind of like exotic fable. Not you'll know they're real, but like, you know, really you've seen one and everyone else is like, yeah, they're fucking everywhere in summer. You know what I mean?
Yes, we've. I think we've all seen them. I imagine. I assume. I assume we all just kind of think they're like a part of the cycle, right, Matt? Like it's just
it's part of life in the hereafter. Yeah, for sure. Like, like you might be, you know, you certainly don't want to be near them when they're like, you know, swarming or like anything like that. But people, you know, some people like will hunt them because they ingest so much chalk that they're a good source of chalk. But like obviously there are people like brood monks who worship them and say they can speak and that they have deep magics and things like this. So it's up to you where you fall in this kind of like panoply of how people view them. They can certainly be a danger, but they are also just part of life as well. Like, you know, any kind of exposure to
am I right in thinking that
nature.
they like unless something like they're maddened or hungry or
Yeah, they won't. They
essentially
don't. They don't tend to
attack
attack people just off
living.
the cuff. No.
Yeah, they just eat dead bodies.
Hmm. But that in itself can sometimes be, they can be dangerous. And like you hear rumors of them grown to such sizes that they do become threats to people, or whatever. You hear all sorts, but yeah, they're part of life.
Very, very cool. I mean, I've obviously seen the images and read the stories in the libraries, and have read of them. But well, very exciting that you've all seen these creatures. Yes, it's well, but adventure awaits, I suppose, doesn't it?
We'll see plenty of them this year, probably.
Well, splendid.
There is the noise of a rather pathetic wilting horn, and the gangplank detaches from the dock below. You can see Small Onion kind of over by it, kind of like winding the gangplank up to the ship. And there's a sort of crackle over from some ancient kind of loudspeaker system that runs through the bean barge, and the captain's voice that you recognize from meeting him previously says,
"This is Captain Spirit. This is
Can't make out that man's accent. Does anybody else get that?
"Oh, it's the accent." Yeah.
God, like every train announcement system I've ever heard in my life. Not quite. I'm sure it'll come on again if it was important.
Small Onion kind of finishes. They finish cranking in the gangplank and turn around and shout out, the captain says that everyone is welcome below now, although obviously if you could steer clear of the crew quarters, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Well, do we
What does that
do we go
say?
pick out a room then, or something? Is that the next thing to do?
I'm sorry. I thought, just to reiterate, there are no separate rooms, Master Ott.
Oh, I thought we were just all squeezed together in a smaller room.
I mean, you're all in one room
Us.
with everyone, essentially. The journey to the grounds will not require sleeping. We will be there in a matter of hours. There is an observation deck, which I encourage you to make use of.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Did I just, whilst I've been around on the deck, did I happen to have I seen where our weapons were taken? Just
Small Onion took them below.
Took them below. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the doors to the bridge haven't opened since everything went down.
Do you want to try and get a good spot on the observation deck then? Or is this old hat to you all? You're not that fussed anymore.
Oh, it's always
Yes.
a sight to breaking the cloud layer. It's always worth. Yeah, let's find a good spot.
As you start moving towards the stairs leading down, the beam barge kind of like lurches away from the edge of Delta City, and you feel like a sort of rush in the pit of your stomach and up into your chest as it kind of like just essentially starts diving, but slightly slower than that might indicate. But it's definitely moving at some speed and like gliding gently towards the clouds that are, I mean, probably hundreds to thousands of feet below you. But, you're going to get there eventually.
I'd like to just make sure as we're on our way, I can suss out where the toilets are somewhere en route, because after that lurch, I'm definitely going to need to run my way over to them at some point.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you take the stairs down. There's 2 sets of wide stairs, one central set for cargo, and that Small Onion took, and one set of forward stairs that are used for passengers access to the observation deck. And you head down into those. You end up in an observation room where there are it's quite wide, quite broad. It seems to form much of the main part of the front of this kind of lower deck. There are a series of sort of almost couches and chairs that have been bolted to the ground, and there is, as the name might suggest, a wide, slightly lower area at the front of the deck where you have to step down, and you can see through a very thick plate of sort of plexiglass at the front of the bean barge that you can see everything to do with the direction it's going. Of interest to Ott, over to one side to kind of your left as you go down is what seems to be a bathroom in the observation, leading off the observation deck. And there's also a set of double doors at the sort of rear away from the front that go just further in to the bean barge, you don't know where. One thing that does hit you all, though, is that something maybe a bit wrong in the observation room. There's an overwhelming smell of sickness, blood, and death. Piles of twisted blankets and torn sheets have been bloodied and tossed aside. In the center of a couch, the lurching lordling you saw waiting in front of you in the queue lingers, seemingly barely able to sit up. Her face has turned grey-white. She looks like a living corpse. The plush couch she sat on is in front of a semicircle of I've described that different to how it is. Okay, we'll go with my original description. Yeah, we'll go with my original description of the plexiglass thing. It's meant to be portholes, but that's fine. We'll go with the plexiglass thing. It's all good. Yeah.
I am going to step forward and see if I can do anything for her.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to look around the room more.
Okay. Well, let's start with Naeus. Yeah, you step over to her. There's quite a lot of blood. And as I say, she doesn't look like she's particularly responsive, and she's very, very grayish white.
What, like, other than there being blood and her looking pale, what does it look like? Are there any marks on her?
Are you having are you moving
Yeah.
her because she's yeah, okay. It becomes very apparent very quickly. She has kind of like she's got, don't know what you call it, but when part of your tunic is kind of pinned across your front, right? And she's got of one of her arms kind of tucked into that and held with her other arm over it. And as soon as you move, which you think she is conscious, but she gives very little resistance as you withdraw that other arm, which ends with what you would guess is a ragged saber wound that has taken probably all of her arm beyond here. Yeah, there's a lot of blood.
Okay. She has been attacked. Someone needs to alert the captain, and someone needs to pass me any rag that isn't already soaked in blood. Now.
I will look around for cleanish rags to assist Naeus.
Nothing immediately occurs, so maybe there'll be something in the bathroom.
I'll go and check in there. Sorry, just to confirm that there were two people in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
Lordling. There's no sign of another person, is there? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll head to the bathroom and yeah, see if there's anything.
And
in
the other person was their servant, seemingly servant, who was hissing something to them. Like,
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Clay, in the bathroom, you do find a number of clean towels. It's a meager but clean bathroom. There's a single molded plasticine toilet and sink. And tucked in the corner, leaning against the toilet, is what looks like a very large and elaborate technological rifle of some kind. It is not something you're familiar with. It looks like a custom bit of work.
Okay. I will pick it up. I'll pick it up. I'll take the towels back to Naos and say, I found this in the bathroom. This shouldn't be there. I'll try and find Small Onion.
I
Yes.
do not think you should be holding that, Clay. I will say this as I am like wrapping the wound and trying to put pressure on it.
Sure. While all this is going on, Ink, you mentioned you're having a look around. Just kind of a look around the room to try and find something else. Is that the idea, or?
Yeah, I'm looking around to see if there's any indication of where the other person may have gone, or anything else that's been dropped to give any idea of it. Because until Naeus, I don't even think Naeus specifically said what had happened, so I don't necessarily know that this person's lost an arm. So I'm just looking around for any clue as to what's happened, other than the fact that that person is there on the sofa.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't find there's nothing huge that leaps out to you. It's just the scene is as described. But there's no real like perception or awareness rolls in this game. I think I'm just meant to tell you everything that can be found. And you know what? Let's say that there's blood on quite a few things in here. But one of the things that includes is the door that leads deeper into the beam barge.
Okay. So upon seeing that, does it look like, is the handle, is it a handle or is it a plus?
Yeah, let's say it's got a handle, and like the handle isn't bloody, but there's a big smear near the handle.
Okay. I think somebody went this way.
What have you been doing during all this, Ott? Or are you kind of just...
I think slightly stood there in shock, doing his absolute best not to vomit on the spot. Yeah. I think
Fair
that's
enough.
about it right now.
Naeus, do you want to make a... let's have our first check of the game, shall we? So have you you've got a relevant skill, right? Is it called
I have
medicine or
medicine.
something like that? Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the rules. They're very simple. It's a D100 system. What is your rating in medicine?
Rating is just ticked.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, it's a relevant stat. And sorry, let me just double check something, because I thought I know exactly how this works, and it occurs to me. Right, if you have the skill, then you roll with advantage. Yes, okay, I remember this now, which is lucky, really. Okay, so let's say, pardon me. Yes, you should roll mind, I think.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, or do delicate work with your hands. That also, pick mind or speed. I think either of those is applicable.
Will be mind. They're both my worst stats.
Okay. And yeah, you roll with advantage.
Okay. So the first roll was 83, which is definitely a fail. 58, which is also a fail.
Okay, how far off are you? Just out of interest.
My
don't know what your stat
58
is.
had a target of 26, so 32.
Okay, I just wanted to know what your stat was.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can't seem to staunch the bleeding. The individual you are working on kind of blinks open her eyes, There is sort of blood pooling on a crest she carries on her breast near the ragged wound, and she kind of pulls a sheet that was partly covering her aside to see better what you're doing. It's very bad. It might not be worth bothering with.
Then tell me what happened.
So this, she kind of raises the stump of her arm towards you.
Yes.
Duel went bad. Duel went very bad.
With who?
Doesn't matter now.
It does.
It really doesn't. He won. That's all that matters. I won't get work again there, even if I live.
Was this on the ship or before?
Hours ago. If any of you can help me, you can have Hound's Catcher.
Hands catcher?
Hound's Catcher. Oh, Hound's Catcher. She looks over at the experimental rifle that Clay is holding or propping up or what have you.
I'll lay it down by the couch, I think.
And as was pointed out in our private chat as well, John, if you can take a point of stress for failing a roll as well.
Yes.
How do you have that on board? Why didn't that get taken off of you?
Because I hid it. You're asking some very obvious questions to someone who's very much dying.
You said if we could help you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can stop this bleeding.
Well, then you're not getting Hound's Catcher, are you?
I'm going to go off
Seems
and
that Clay's already holding it.
I'd put it down. I'm going to go off and alert Small Onion and see if there are any first aid kits or stuff like that on the.
Okay. Well, where are you looking for Small Onion?
I'd start by going, I guess, back onto the deck.
Mm-hmm. There is Menfa and Genmo are still on the deck, but there is no one else.
Okay. I wouldn't bother the captain just yet, I don't think. I'll go to the door with the blood on it and sort of go further into the barge.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm going to have kind of started through that door anyway, I think, by the time that Clay comes.
So perhaps you can go through together.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You find yourself in a very large storage area that is, however, quite cramped because of how much is in it. It's filled with sealed water containers strapped to the walls and floors. As I say, it's taking up, honestly, the bulk of the lower deck, you think. As you make your way through all these containers, you see that there is like the cargo stairs leading up to the upper deck, but also leading further below, there is what looks like a ladder, a metal ladder in a tube. And beyond, kind of towards the rear of the barge, you can see that there is another door. This door does not have... Oh, you know what? I'll give you this for free. The ladder had some blood on it. However, the door leading further back into the bean barge to the aft of this lower deck did not.
Is there any labeling for like crew quarters? Because I think Small Onion mentioned.
Yeah, you know what? I'd say that outside of the doorway leading back, there is a sign that says galley.
Okay.
You can hear a cheerful whistling coming from beyond that door.
Okay. I'm going to knock on it and open it immediately and sort of see who's in. And
Hello? You open it onto a fairly large area. There's a wall with a built-in stove, sink and freezer, a dozen or so cupboards that look to be filled with dried goods. There's a fridge, quite a bit of food in general. Above the sink hangs what looks like a medical kit. As you head into here, you can also hear like a little humming coming from behind you, as not far behind you is Menfa, who seems to have walked through the observation deck, entirely ignoring what was going on in there, and is just kind of coming through here and is muttering noises about all the wonderful smells. There are wonderful smells. They mostly seem to be onion based, and I mean that in terms of who's doing the cooking and what they're cooking. Small Onion kind of looks up at you and says, "Oh, technically this is a crew area, but could you pass me the salt?"
Yes, and I'll pass the salt. And there's one of the passengers, the Lordling, has been injured. Needs medical attention.
Injured? Doesn't
Yes.
entirely annoy me. He was a bit annoying. I'm sorry. He's your friend.
Oh, the other one. Sorry, not like.
Oh! I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean anything by it.
Would you like to know something, Small Onion?
Yes.
We didn't know him before this.
That's outrageous. Small Onion is just adding salt to onion soup at this point. Mother Menfa is kind of walking around the galley, looking at the pots and pans with interest, and has kind of like pulled a couple of little dried goods down, and it seems to be about to start a recipe of her own.
Perhaps we could borrow that medical kit, or if you have any medical skill, because I think at last checking, they were dying and had lost an arm.
Oh shit. They kind of lean across to where the medical kit is, snatch it down, look at Menfa for a second, and then just kind of go and kind of dash out of the galley, kind of past you. Following them?
I'll just quickly say, I don't know if you saw, Clay, but it looked like there was blood going down the ladder. Maybe do we leave them to? We can't do anything there.
I'm not good with first aid. Certainly not for anything like that. We should probably find this. But is she going to be okay? Looking at Menfa with the.
She just seems to be making something. Like she just started cooking. It's just making something.
I'm sure.
Like,
okay.
I think she's fine.
Happily humming. I should also note, I didn't do in the original description because you were more focused on stuff. There are also 2 other doors at the back of the galley, just for future reference, if you want to nosy around the ship further at any point in the future. Okay, so can I sum up what I think is about to happen? So Naeus and Ott are still in the observation deck, trying to keep this Lordling alive, or at least Naeus is, while Ott is like, Ink and Clay, is your intention to go back to the observation deck or to check out that ladder leading down below?
My idea was for us to go down, yeah.
Right, okay. Let's go to the observation deck then. Naeus, you're probably busy trying to keep this individual alive, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Ott, what have you been doing, if anything?
Honestly, I think very little. Like, I mean, sort of vaguely keeping an eye out for the others to come back. And I mean, if Naeus tells me to do something, I will probably just sort of instinctively do it at this point. But like, otherwise, probably just being a bit of a lemon, to be honest. You're on mute, Matt.
I think I just muted myself to speak, which is pretty clever. So, I am going to say that Small Onion kind of like bounds back into the room, and is holding like a medical kit and sort of rushes over and takes one look at the copious blood-soaked garments and rags that this individual has piled on top of them, and kind of dives forward a little bit and kind of cracks this medical kit open and just starts desperately trying to, like, you know, staunch the bleeding. And I'm going to make a roll for Small Onion. And I guess this is the thing of, like, I think I'm right in saying that rolls in this don't really adjust other than to give an advantage, right? So
Yes, but if there are or disadvantages, but if you're rolling with a total of 2 or more advantages, then you auto succeed.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember where that is written down.
I certainly saw that
13.
for disadvantages, where, yes, if you have 2 disadvantages, you auto-fail as well.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
So I would
well
argue,
then.
sorry,
No, go on.
I was going to say if they got a medical kit, they hopefully have medical training, and I'm helping.
Well, what I was actually going to say is I was going to give each of you a chance to succeed, and I will keep it to myself how I'm going to adjudicate these things. But Small Onion is going to try first. And I will say that, yes, a medical kit is an advantage. So let's see how they do. That's 98 as a starting one. So there we go. Small Onion kind of leans over and kind of unpacks the medical kit. Inside are some fairly basic supplies, but probably quite welcome ones. There's a roll of bandages. There are painkillers, antibiotics, stimulants, some med paste, and crucially, as Small Onion kind of tosses most of these aside, including the bandages, at the bottom of the medical kit is a tourniquet. Which Small Onion kind of whips out, looks over at you, Naeus, and says, "Grab this end."
I'll grab it.
Kind of forces it on the lordling. She kind of closes her eyes and just kind of goes, which you're not sure would be the noise you'd be making. Okay, now it should work automatically if I press this down. Pull.
I pull.
You pull, and like there is some kind of mechanism inside it that basically like cinches and winds the tourniquet in while clamping in with like small needles on the flesh that like tighten it up together, and the blood almost instantly stops. That really hurts. I'm not complaining.
Well, hopefully the pain of the tourniquet will distract you from the pain of the arm.
I'm not sure that's how it works. I'm going to pass out now.
Okay.
She proceeds to do so.
I might go for a little vomit now.
Well, the bathroom is just over there. What happened?
She said she was in a duel some hours ago.
How was she
Why?
still walking?
Why you wouldn't go for medical care at any point in those hours? I don't know if it's lordling pride or utter stupidity.
Are we saying there's a difference? I shouldn't say that.
She's
I meant no
unconscious.
offense. The soup! Small Onion leaps to their feet and dashes off through into the cargo hold. And on that point, I think we'll switch over to Ink and Clay, who sound like a kind of double, like a buddy.
I'd watch that detective show for sure. Yeah.
You head down the ladder. It's a good 8 feet long in a tube. It's a little like it's not entirely spacious. It's a little, mildly uncomfortable for sure. You arrive on a landing that's kind of made up of sort of a metal grill. And below that, you can see the outer shell of the beam barge. You're very close to the edge of the hull here. It's like it feels like a maintenance deck, perhaps, or something along those lines. Scattered across this kind of like metal grill landing is a smattering of broken glass. You can see that there are 4 spaces for escape pods, kind of on either side of you, and that there is like a service hatch on like a little further along on the actual that leads to outside of the ship. To in front of you and behind you, to the fore and the after, are also passageways that lead to something that's making some very deep humming noises. But it's quite dark down here, so I'm going to say that unless you specifically tell me you're investigating something, I might hold a little detail back because you've got to actually get up close to things and take a look at them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Including if you want to look for more blood. Like, I might not make you, like, I don't know if I'll make you roll for it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But, like, it's too dark here to immediately latch on details like that.
Sure. Well, the first question from my point of view is, are all of the escape pods there?
They are not. So one of them appears to be entirely missing. And in fact has a launch date flashing on the terminal. The launch date is 50 years ago. You could probably find out more details about it by investigating on the pad and trying to bring up more information. That's Escape Pod 2. Escape Pods 3 and 4 are certainly there and look kind of normal. Escape Pod 1 has a smashed digital terminal, and there is a broken saber blade wedged into the door's locking mechanism. They each have little windows in the front of them, but you'd have to like tiptoe and peer in to see what may or may not be inside them.
I would love to look in the one with the broken saber blade.
Absolutely. I thought maybe you would.
Just as an aside, Matt, not to try and get any mechanical advantage, but my armor, I don't know, because my armor is broken, but I think that's a mechanical thing, but it does have a shoulder lamp. So that's just for a visualization.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get any. Yeah, it's literally just like I have a light.
Yeah. No, that helps. And you get up on your tiptoes, you shine the light into the escape pod, and you kind of like possibly. Do you think if you thought someone was looking back out at you, you might like rear back a little bit for a second?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, then you do that. Inside, you can see what looks like a kind of human form wrapped in a pile of bloody sheets. If they were not in the pile of bloody sheets, they would be peering out of the window at you. Like it's someone's head. You can see that, like, from the neck down, the sheets are soaked in blood.
Huh. There's somebody in there, I think. There's a load of, well, more bloody sheets. Just have a... and I'll kind of usher Clay to have a look in.
Okay, looking at this thing. So, does it look like the saber is keeping the doors closed, or the door closed? Is it sort of? You said there was a saber in the locking mechanism.
Yeah, it is. The lock is jammed shut because of the saber plunged into it.
Okay. Well, I'll look through. I guess I see the body wrapped in sheets.
Mm-hmm.
But how? I don't understand. How is? Are they? Is the body moving at all?
Oh God, no.
This doesn't seem right.
Something's amiss.
Can we try and pull the sword from the stone,
do we want to pull the saber from the locking mechanism? I mean, it was kind of like.
I mean, it sounds like Inca's just done it to me.
I think I at least go to put my hand on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh God! Go on then. Have your plot forwarding moment.
Okay. I'm assuming you've got no relevant skill.
Not unless tinkering counts, but I imagine it doesn't for this because it probably is a bit more brute force, isn't it?
No, you know what? I'll allow it, but I'm also giving you a disadvantage because it's dark and it's wedged in there real good. So just make a straight up strength roll. No advantage, no disadvantage.
I have 30 in strength.
Sounds good. I'd like to note that just to add the extra vicious thing into this roll, I hope this doesn't affect Jonny because he looks so happy. I would like to add that unlike many other D100s, rolling equal to is a fail.
I have rolled a 3.
Okay. It's good it wasn't the other way around.
Yeah.
Or was it? Is he lying because he knew I was about
Look. Wait.
All right, fancy keyboard.
Wait, how do I do that's the wrong way.
How do you zoom?
There we go.
It's a 3.
I believed you from the start, Jonny. I know
But you don't
know
know
if you believed me.
He has 100 dice trays below his desk.
Just one with each. Just in case of being asked. Yeah. The saber is wedged in really good, but here's a bit of tinkering expertise. You realize you're quite familiar with this kind of locking mechanism, and you think that it might give more if you kind of jam it up and down a bit, and it does. It springs out. I'm going to roll to see. I'm going to do a random roll to see if this saber is intact, and therefore if you can keep the saber. And I'm going to say that this seems like quite I think it's unlikely that it will not break during this process. But let's see. Yeah, let's give you that chance. The saber breaks as you do so.
Yeah, fine.
Like it breaks in half, and the tip falls onto the floor, and you're left holding like a kind of broken thing. But the locking mechanism is free, and you can open the escape pod.
Shall we?
Yes, we need to know who this is. I will try to unwrap enough of the body to see whether it's the servant.
Absolutely. The body kind of like, as you bring it out, kind of crashes a bit to the floor of this gangway, and as you unwrap it, you see that essentially it absolutely is the servant of the wounded lordling, and you can see that someone has slashed her throat open with what looks very, very much like a saber wound. She's very, very dead. Let's pop up back to the observation deck with the sweet sounds of Ott getting all sick in the bathroom to one side. Naeus, something kind of like crosses your field of vision slightly, like from the corner of your eye, and you look out. So far, your journey on the bean barge is in terms of how outsiders looked, is that you shortly after you came down here in the observation deck, you entered a curtain of sickly pale clouds and rocked occasionally with turbulence. Now the pale clouds have rolled aside, and you can see that there is another kind of blanket of clouds further below you. But the motion that you saw, you can see some flickering down below amongst that blanket of clouds. And as the ship lowers itself even further towards it, a single imago flickers across the observation deck, briefly alights onto the plexiglass of the screen, and then flickers off into the air. It would certainly be quite rare to have an imago flying this high up, unless maybe something related to them was going on. And I think we'll take a little break there. A little 10-minute break. How does that sound to people? Although it looked like Inga had a question to ask.
I was just going to say, I think Ott probably comes out just after the imago disappears from vision. Just
Sure.
The comedy of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, let's take a 10-minute break there, folks. Now that our first timed event has happened.
Yeah, don't forget to stop that timer, Matt, because
I will. I have. It's already done.
not that I'm nervous or anything.
Oh no, far better. Why would you be nervous? And there we go. All right, let's go on break. We're back in 10 minutes, friends. Bye. We return. Hello. I'm sure Inga will be with us in a moment.
Hopefully.
How's everyone enjoying it so far? That's
It's great. Love a bit of mystery. Love a bit of.
I'm having fun.
good. Oh no, we can't do this. No. I can't have you in a different order for the next part. I'll get so confused. Okay, let's crack on. So yeah, as was described beforehand, Clay and Inca down in the kind of like the bottom deck, the maintenance deck, with a wrapped up dead body, and Ott and Naeus are on the observation deck with an unconscious, badly wounded lordling, and the slightly discomforting sight of of Imago flying outside, which might suggest that the little odd things that Menfa was saying might have some kind of truth to them. And go. I suppose I should say who we're actually with. Let's be with Ott and Naeus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll come back out, and I guess a Small Onion she headed back to the kitchen, didn't she? So she's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Oh God, they're getting someone in to come and mop all this up. Then
Did you just see that?
what? The arm? Yeah.
No. Something. I just saw an Imago out of the window.
Wait, what? And I'll run over to the window. Where? Wait, where? He up here?
Yes. And
Can't believe
can
I
you see any others?
Can I see any others?
Yeah, you know what? Down below you, in little gaps on the cloud cover, you can see the occasional little winged kind of whirring thing fly by.
Oh, hang on. Down further here. This is. Oh my God, this is incredible. Yes. That down below.
I will prop the lordling up in a like with the wound up and the feet elevated and her flat, and then I will go to the window and also see this. You're on mute.
That woman, she said something about these. She said they were being born this year.
Yeah. 10 years early, as far as we know. Am I right in thinking, Matt, that barges don't normally fly through swarms of Imago?
You are 100% correct.
We need to notify the captain.
All right, go to the captain. Okay, yes. We're going here for some extra time, Helen, but don't worry about it just yet. All right.
Okay.
Well,
so the captain
we can go find him and tell him something, even if we can't understand a bloody word that he's saying. He should understand us at least. Right, where's the captain going to be?
on
Oh,
the
she's
bridge?
all right, is she now? She's if we just,
Does she seem stable enough for me to leave her, Matt?
It doesn't look like she's about to immediately die.
I can probably leave her for a while.
Brilliant. All right. Well, let's go find the captain, shall we? There's some funny business, obviously. If that's we've got to get out of here or something. I don't. Well, you know what to do. But we'll find the captain. I guess we'll go through those doors. Seems like the most likely place to start. Heading, I guess.
Well, you're not going to head for the bridge?
Oh, is that not right? Okay, yeah.
No,
I mean,
the bridge is
whichever
on
seems
the
like the direction. Right, I assumed it was further.
Yeah.
Okay, I headed the other way then. Yeah.
Before
Okay.
we go, I will put her rifle within reach of her other hand.
Okay. So let's.
Hang on, that's yours now. She said you could have that if you helped her.
Did was Naeus the one making the roll?
Otter's not distinguishing between that
Look,
stuff.
I-
as far as
I-
concerned.
Don't want it. Okay, if she is going to try and give it to me, then she can keep it. Let's just go find the captain.
All right.
Okay, you head up the stairs towards the upper deck, and while you do that, let's cut back down to Ink and Clay. Ink and Clay, down below. Yeah, what's happening, my guys?
Is there nothing else down here? Like, sorry, what I mean is any more ways to go? That's what I was asking.
Yeah. There's passageways to the fore and the aft, from which both of which have kind of humming noises coming from them. Mechanical humming noises.
I would like to do some kind of checking around these to see if there is any sign that somebody has gone in one of those directions. If possible.
By that, do you mean you're going in those directions and having a look, or are you looking around for the blood you've seen and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to sort of both ways a little bit and see if there's any or maybe I will say should we check both ways and see if somebody's
do you think there's another person who's I'm worried that the lordling, do you no, she was badly injured. She couldn't have who killed the servant? Is there someone else? I'm worried that the lordling might have.
There must be. I mean, I found it difficult to get down here, and they have one less arm, so perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I better tell. We need to let people know that there's another. This is murder. This isn't a duel. This is serious.
Okay, you will be faster than me. Why don't you go up and then we can continue down here?
But if there is another murderer, I'll stay with you for now. Come on, let's. This can't be too much space down here to check. And I will follow after Ink. If you pick a direction, I'll go with you.
Let's go.
Both directions.
The direction that is under the galley. So kind of the direction that we were going anyway. Yeah,
the aft.
Okay.
You walk through a short passageway, very short passageway. There's no sign of any kind of blood or anything else around here. You emerge into a relatively smaller chamber, at the center of which is a spinning bone skin urn filled with superheated liquid chalk and surrounded by mechanical tubes. It is a relic from an era long since past and an extremely complicated machine. There is a twisting handle mounted on the front of it, and there are 4 large levers in the corners of the room surrounding the chalk engine. And I, in fact, have a image that I can flip up, I think. Come on. Yes. It looks a little bit like this. That's a kind of cross section of it on the bottom half. But it basically looks like that. The like humming and like sensation it's giving off does not feel entirely material.
Okay.
I don't think we should be touching that.
It has the kind of the circular thing around it kind of represents there's some kind of like maybe like containment field of some kind around it that like leaves a shimmer to the air. But I mean, you had no probably inclinations to shove your hand into it anyway, so it's probably fine. There's nothing else to be seen in the room.
And no other exits?
Nope.
Huh.
Well, there's no one here.
No. Yeah, should we try the other way?
Yes, let's do that. I presume there's no one. Well, no one would be foolish enough to go through the service hatch. So yeah, let's check the other direction.
Okay. You head down one passageway, the gangplank, and then another passageway, and you find yourself in a room very much like the one you just left. It's the same layout and features, the same chalk engine, except this room is a lot warmer than the back room, and the engine is giving off visible sparks inside the containment field.
Okay, that doesn't look good.
No. Especially not if the other one is kind of how it's supposed to. Yeah. Should we if we
Yes.
go back up and Small Onion's in the other room with them yeah, okay.
Let's get back. There's no sign of visible physical damage. There's no sort of wrench in it or sabotage.
No,
Right,
no, you can't see anything visible that would clue you in, really. No.
You go ahead, Clay. I'll catch you up.
Okay.
I'm coming. I'm going, but you will be faster.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take that opportunity to check in up with the others then, shall we? You find yourself on the deck. There's no one else on the deck. And the doors to the bridge remain very, very big and thick and metal and very closed.
Stop banging on them as loudly as I can.
You hear a kind of muffled voice inside saying something, but nothing immediately obvious. And you hear some noises of someone moving around. Are you carrying on banging or just assuming they're coming to the door? Or
Come on, open it up.
After probably a good minute or so, the doors to the bridge sort of glide open, revealing Captain Stello, who you have met before when you first booked passage. There is a tangle of life support tubes winding from a hole in his chest to the corner of the room. There is a steering yoke at the very front, alongside the upper part of that, plastic screen that extends down to the observation deck. There's a comms terminal nearby spitting out radio chatter. Behind the seat in front of the captain's yoke is a small desk strewn with loose papers, a couple of ornate fountain pens, and what looks to be a book that he's writing that's half down. There are old wooden framed photos of unsavory characters dotting the walls. You're not Onion? What is it? What is it, sir? What is it?
Well, there's some sort of funny business going aboard this barge of yours. There's some woman's half dead down in the observation deck, and Small Onion's gone running off without cleaning it up properly. And then we're seeing Imago down in the clouds below. And my good friend here, Naeus, says that that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We shouldn't really be going through. Or so, well, you explained it better, Naeus. What was wrong with the Imago? There's something funny about that.
There's a swarm right below us.
It may not surprise you. I hope it should not surprise you that I know. Hence the announcement about a potential increase in turbulence. He turns around and kind of using his cane kind of leads himself over to the desk, to the yoke, and kind of peering out. What? I'm sorry, did you say half dead?
Yes.
Well, that's not right.
Happened off the ship.
Small
Well, the
Onion has
bleeding's
seen.
all over the ship.
You said Onion has seen to the matter.
Yeah.
Well, the job's not done till it's cleaned up properly, as far as I'm concerned. So I think she's half done it. They've half done it. Sorry.
There's somewhere more fitting that we could leave her to rest. That's not the middle of the observation deck.
Look, while I am not immune to your reasoning and your complaints, you barged in here with, first off, a flagging up of something rather more important. And I am in the middle of dealing with it, sirs, if you don't mind, because, well, it's not like I have lived through one. None of us aboard have. But that very much below looks to me like the beginnings of a century brood. And, well, there is an issue with that, isn't there? With one moment's thought. And not just the fact that flying through a swarm of those things is dangerous in and of itself.
Well, exactly. Oh, well, these announcements you're making are really quite awful. Like, we can't hear a damn word you're saying. This is all just muffled nonsense.
Your speakers need seeing by an engineer, Captain.
That is hardly my primary issue.
Right.
Well, what do you want
So-
us to do about it then?
I was going to ask that in a slightly more polite way, but yes, what can we do, Captain?
Cause less of a fuss. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to try and... Yes? Fly the
Yes.
ship?
Come on, Ott. Let's leave the captain to captaining.
He strides over wearily back in front of the yoke and is kind of like, seems to be guiding the ship in a more gentle fashion. And the bridge doors close behind you. And as they do, I will just briefly press stop on the clock and I will roll on a table. In fact, does someone want to roll on the table for me? We're with
No.
John and Inga. No? Okay. Well, then, let's have
yeah, I'll roll.
Inga roll on it. Just a D10 roll, please.
All right. A 3.
A 3. Okay. As you kind of like stride away from the bridge, you see that emerging from the clouds below is another air barge, one easily identified as a cloudling one from the amount of decorative elements on it and kind of flamboyantly stitched sails. It is completely covered in imago. They have a gunner on a turret on board that is pitching huge slugs into the dying creatures, but dozens more of them are flocking up from the clouds below and swarming the ship in a rage. And those swarms are not just fixating on the ship, but are blooming out in the air around you. All around the ship are circling hundreds of quite aggressive-looking imago. None of them have landed on your craft just yet, but it seems that this trigger-happy air barge nearby is definitely drawing attention to the area. Ott, your brief kind of like wonderment at seeing all these imago is probably somewhat subdued by, everything.
What on?
And the time
I
is
mean,
going again.
That well, the captain's all bloody useless. Telling us we've been barging in when he opened the doors to us. That maybe that other woman, the mother Mentha.
Menfa. Yes.
I mean,
The brood
Uh,
monk probably won't stop anything. We should get below deck right now and hope that the captain is very good at his job.
Right.
And on that, I feel like we will have the group meet up in the observation deck. Does that sound about right? Yeah.
So Nick says, "Well, let the captain do his job, and I'll fling them." Oh no, Clay beats me in actually, doesn't he?
Yeah, so I guess I'll be looking around for anyone in either Small Onion or anyone else. Well, Small Onion, I guess at this point. But on seeing the others, I'll look at the lordling on the couch. They're still passed out, right?
Yeah.
There's another body. The servant. She's dead. Her throat was slit with a saber.
Even from in here, by the way, you can hear like the repeated thuds of the turret on the other barge, like going. But they might sound like just mechanical sounds of the ship, maybe. But it's definitely an unusual noise that two of you know where it's coming from, and the other two don't.
I can't believe that's probably the least of our problems. But have you looked out the window? There's another ship, and it's covered in a swarm of those Imago, and the captain's going to try and avoid the swarm.
I'll come in through the door and say, "Have you told them about the engine, Clay?"
Not yet.
Oh, what?
One of the engines looks like it's sparking. I'm sure it shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
None of you happens to be an engineer, do you?
No.
Nope. Not right
They
now.
must have one on board somewhere, right?
I think
They
it's
wouldn't
probably Small
come out.
Onion.
Oh, we better go find them then, haven't we? Oh God, Wait, there's another body. This isn't
Yeah,
another duel gone wrong.
No, it's a murder. The servant, she had a throat slit, and she was jammed in an escape pod with a
Are
saber.
you saber?
Yes. There's no sign of anyone else down there. We saw blood leading up to the escape pod, but presumably nowhere else. I don't know. I don't know who did it. Either there's someone else, and I will turn to look at the figure on the couch.
I mean, that woman's no fit state to be going off murdering anybody, surely.
She was shaky before she stepped on the barge.
Then there's another murder on this ship. Then
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
I need to find Small Onion.
Yes, I think they're the real authority on this ship. That captain was bloody useless.
I will head towards the galley again, I think.
Okay. Is anyone going with Clay?
Yeah, following him.
I will also.
Okay.
I will stay with the Lordling.
All right. Well, the three of you make your way through the cargo hold. As you're kind of part way through the cargo hold, at first, what you assume for a large storage tank on the side of the cargo hold, resolves itself in the shadows to be Genmo, the brood monk, who's just kind of standing quite still at the side of the cargo hold, just kind of just slouched hugely against one of the outer walls, and is just kind of watching you pass. Is anyone going to kind of interact with him in any way as you go past, or just note that he's there?
I'm going to be looking him up and down, and Does he have any weapons on him?
No, not that you can see. I mean, there are loads of places, certainly in this bit of the cargo hold, where he could definitely have something sort of stashed, but like on him that you can see now.
Okay. I'm not going to say anything just at this point, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Otter's not particularly keen to
Sure.
go up again.
Having encountered him twice already. Okay. Do you think it's noticeable that you're kind of like checking him out, Clay? Like, are you like pausing a second to look at him or anything like that?
It's certainly possible. I mean, I'll try to make it inconspicuous, but it's certainly possible.
Okay. As you kind of do so, his eyes kind of like fall on you and kind of focus on you in a very lazy, casual fashion, and he grunts. Keep moving, little man.
I'll keep moving.
You head into the galley where Menfa is happily munching on some odd thing she's made. It looks like some kind of like science fantasy post-apocalyptic taco, maybe. And Small Onion has kind of finished the soup and has set it to one side and kind of is sort of dishing it out, but keeps glancing out of a porthole in the side of the galley with an increasingly worried look on their face.
Small Onion, I'm sorry to... Someone's been murdered. They're jammed in an escape pod, and one of the engines looks like it's failing.
That's a lot of bad news.
I'm sorry.
Why does the engine look like it's failing?
It's the one at the back. Yes, it's sparking.
It was the front, but yeah.
The front one. It's really warm and it seems to be sparking. The one at the other end seems fine.
You see like a look of relief cross their face. Oh, just sparking inside the field?
Yes, but it was really warm. Warmer than the other one.
It's been like that since I signed up for the Bean Barge. The captain says there aren't any problems with it that can't be fixed with a little elbow grease. But
whose elbow grease is?
He did also say not to overcharge it unless it was absolutely necessary.
Well, it might be because there's a whole swarm of Imago attacking a ship nearby, and the captain's got to do something about that.
I did see.
Yes, there's some ship in there. They're all over the damn thing, and it's firing at them, and they just keep coming. We can't get into a mess like that.
Small Onion is kind of looking. Obviously, the ship outside is maybe like rising further up. I think it's on fire.
And who are they coming for next once that ship's down? You've got to ask yourself. Is that engine going to fail us if we're trying to make an escape?
I'm not hearing any suggestions.
Aren't you the engineer or something? Isn't there? You not got someone with this elbow grease you're talking about?
I'm the first mate. I welcome the passengers. I make them their dinner, and I make sure the cargo is stowed.
Question for you, Matt. Knowledge about Imago, the sort of things that Ott overheard earlier. Would any of the rest of us have an inkling of that anyway? Or
yeah, you might have heard folk tales about that kind of thing. You know, yeah, maybe.
The one specifically I'm thinking of is Clay is worried that they might be attracted to dead bodies, and we have a dead body in an escape.
Imago is certain. Yeah, Imago devour chalk, and chalk gathers in the bodies of the dead.
Perhaps it hardly seems proper, but I think perhaps we should get rid of the body of the servant if there's a market.
Would the chalk drive not be enough to attract them on its own?
Oh,
I'm not sure that disposing of one body would make very much difference.
Perhaps it couldn't hurt. What? Tell me more about the body.
It's in escape pod 1. There's loads of blood.
All right. Well, I suppose that might make it easy to get rid of it.
I think the terminal was smashed.
There are manual releases. I'll go deal with that, shall I? And please remain safe on the observation deck.
But there's some other lunatic running around with a saber, murdering people. What are we going to do about that?
They may not have a saber anymore, I suppose, is one piece of good news. That the saber is broken that was in the lock. So,
well, there's some sort of we need to defend ourselves if there's some mad person running around trying to kill us. Where did your?
What about that hound snaffler? Could that be?
I'm not sure.
I tried to tell Naeus that it was theirs to take, but it wouldn't take the damn thing.
I'm not sure I've seen anything like that before. Matt, you described it as being experimental.
It certainly looked along the nature of some kind of experimental weapon, yes. A unique crafted item.
I'm sure you'll figure it out just fine.
Small Onion looks like they're going to kind of dash out of the galley and head down below to release Escape Pod 1 and the accompanying body out into the air in the hope that it might attract away some of the imago. What are the rest of us going to do?
Did you say Mother Menfa is in the kitchen as well still?
Yes, although she has finished her post-apocalyptic taco and is kind of happily meandering. After Small Onion dashes out, she also kind of happily walks out. She had a look out of the window and gave like a happy clap with her hands and is kind of seems to be going towards the deck.
Excuse me, Mother Menfa, is there not with this imago problem? Is there not something? There's some sort of defensive or protective thing that you could that you know of?
Oh, I was going up to go see them. Perhaps I shall sing a song to them. Yes.
For them to go away, not to come here, though, right?
She is humming to herself and walking towards the the steps from the cargo hold up to the deck.
Should we stop her going up to the deck? Is this going to make everything worse?
She seemed remarkably unfazed when I mentioned there'd been a murder. I don't know. Well, she has that what's he called? Genmo. I'm sure Genmo will look after her.
So I think it's about time we make some decisions about what we're going and where we're doing, folks. Small Onion is headed down to the escape pod. Mother Menfa is heading up to the deck. You don't know what's happening with the Lordling in the observation deck. As you emerge from the galley, you see that Genmo is not stood where he was either. What are we doing? Where are we going? And are we doing it together or individually?
I would quite like to take the opportunity to check the doors out of the galley, the other two doors, basically to see whether anyone else is hiding.
Sure, absolutely. How about other people? What are other people doing?
I stayed up with the Lordling. While they were talking with Small Onion, I would like to see if I can rouse her in any way.
Okay, sure. How about Ot and Ink?
I'm going to go back to the observation deck for now.
Okay.
And re-meet up with Naeus.
Ot seemed quite concerned about Mother Menfa's actions. Is Ot going to follow her or?
Yes, but also not so sure about like trying to tackle her down or anything. She's got that big nasty Genmo fella.
Sure. But are you going to keep an eye on things or?
Oh, I think I might dither for a second and then nip after Clay to go with Clay instead of going up where the scary things might be.
Okay. Fair enough. So let's hop into the... well, first of all, who wants to make some encounter rolls? I need 2d10. So 2 of you make a d10 roll. And it looks like Jonny and I can see Steve rummaging.
I'll go on then.
Yeah.
What's
8 and
what's the worst that can happen? I rolled a 7.
An 8 and a 7. Well, the worst that can happen definitely isn't an 8 and a 7. I mean, I'll say that. Okay. And so where we go? Okay, let's go with Clay and Ott first, because it'll probably be quite quick. Are you basically like just checking out these rear 2 rooms? And like, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the rear rooms is like a crew toilet. There is a single molded toilet and sink, and there's a photo of a farm taped to a broken mirror. The other one is what appears to be the crew sleeper rooms. It's a small, dimly lit room. There are 2 hammocks hanging from pipes in the ceiling. You can see a few of Onion's clothes are folded in a bag attached to the wall. There's a single sunflower seedling hanging below the only small window, soaking in the light. There's also a big locked cabinet. And below the hammock that you assume is the captain's is what looks to be a large wooden trunk closed with a heavy padlock. That is it. Unless someone is lurking in the cabinet or the very tightly in the wooden trunk, then there is no one here.
Okay. Well.
Also, as you finish kind of like glancing around that room, I would say that you hear like 2 bumps, or you feel 2 bumps on the bean barge. One kind of like just a gentle tremor, and the other a bit more of a like a bump that sounds like it's coming from the deck above you. Inga, you were saying something as I said that.
Do you think the things that got confiscated, we might be in one of these locked bits?
So yes.
Yes. I think we might need to be able to defend ourselves. Give these a go.
I would. Let's not. Well, we can ask Small Onion if I don't want to be caught breaking into the.
Well, you know the way. You know the way back to the escape pods. Then should we go find Small Onion and get them to have a look, get this sorted for us?
Well, what was that thump on the deck? I think
that thump is nothing I want to address without some sort of weapon in my hand, probably.
Well, tell you what, it's just down the ladder there to the escape pods are right below. I'm just going to take a quick look to see what's going on the deck, and then I'll come back and join you.
All right.
Okay. Ink and Naeus, you are in the observation deck. Naeus, you wanted to see if you could rouse the lordling, right?
Yes.
I think I'm going to ask for a question for this. I think medicine probably applies here, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
So why don't you give me a heart roll with an advantage?
Okay.
What's your heart?
31.
Okay.
And my first roll was a 6.
There you go. Yeah, you managed to rouse the lordling. She kind of like, at first her eyelids kind of flutter, and then she opens them. She's got a little bit more color back to her cheeks. And she immediately kind of blinks her eyes open, and then are we down yet?
No.
I'd really rather sleep.
I know, and I'd rather you sleep as well. But I need to know who you were in that duel with.
Why? I lost. It doesn't matter. My family will be... It doesn't matter. None of that matters anymore.
Lordling, your servant's been killed.
They say a younger sister is a blessing and an older sister a curse. Have you heard that?
No. Maybe.
Well, she wasn't my servant. She was my older sister, and she's a curse I don't have to worry about anymore.
Whoever killed her is probably still on the ship.
You don't say.
You wanted me to help you.
I wanted you to help save my life. And you did that, along with the one with the horns, who I suppose gets my rifle now.
If whoever took your arm is still on the ship, and apparently still held as much of a grudge...
What are you talking about? I killed my sister.
How?
With my sword.
Well, then we don't need to worry about that.
I suppose not. Ink, you probably stumble in the middle of this, and as you do so, you all feel the same bumps that I described earlier to Clay and Not. The lordling kind of is glancing out of the front observation deck windows, where you can, all three of you, see an angered flock of Imago devastating a flying battle brigade of air barges. 2 of the 5 ships are plummeting out of the sky, and you can hear kind of a noise kicking in over the loudspeakers. For a second, it confuses you, and you worry that the captain might be in some trouble, and then you realize that it's a transmission feeding into this ancient loudspeaker system. You can hear dying soldiers screaming as they plummet to the ground.
Does anybody think we should ask the captain if we can go back up?
I don't much want to disturb him right now.
Well, something. We need to do something.
I don't think you're there, are you, Clay?
Am I not?
You went up to the deck, right?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes, I will have.
Let's jump in with Ott, who has climbed down the narrow ladder to the gantry below, and you find Small Onion kind of like wrestling with the control pad of Escape Pod 1 that has a human-shaped bundle of bloody sheets in it. They look up as you come down and say, "All right, can you give me a hand with this? Just there's if we flip that open, you see that little lever? Could you press down on that?"
Yes. Down on the lever. Got it.
Okay. And hold it down, and I press this button, and when I press this button, we stand back, because there will be a rush of air.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Right.
On go. 3, 2, 1, go. Small Onion presses the button, you pull the lever, you both step back, and with a sudden whoosh of escaping air, the escape pod tumbles out from the side of the beam barge and flies down. It just leaves a hole gap in the hull, and through that you can see Imago flittering past. You can see the clouds below, and you can see those military air barges, like flames tumbling down. You can see people falling off the side of them. You can see it's quite a horrible sight.
Right. Well, the next thing I was going to say was I think we really need our weapons and things back. If you could help us get that unlocked and ready to defend ourselves, because things look rather bad out there.
Maybe, yeah. Small Onion starts clambering up the ladder towards the middle deck. Clay, you yourself emerge from onto the deck, and it's kind of chaos around you in the air. You can see the things I've described as well, but in addition to that, you can see a couple of things. First, you can see Mother Menfa kind of stood over to one side of the deck, kind of eyes closed, staff in front of her, like just kind of like tilting from side to side and letting out an odd trilling kind of song. In front of her is a what looks like a quite young, like a juvenile imago. It's only maybe like would come up to like maybe your there is actually a size guide, so let me just double check that. It basically comes up to your would probably maybe come up to your hips if it like kind of reared up. It's still pretty big. These are kind of huge mystical cicada. And it's kind of like tilting back and forth with her and seems to be kind of like very focused on her. It's not doing anything else. It's not hunting through the air and skitching around dangerously like the others are. However, there is also a full-grown imago, which probably would come up to your chest or shoulders. And it is kind of like skittering around the deck and just over the side and up. It's moving around very fast. It seems to be searching for something. But that's not all you see. Another thing you see is that the doors to the bridge are open. You see that Genmo, the brood monk, is kind of stood in the doorway. And in one hand, he has Captain Stello, who he seems to have yanked off his life support tubes and is currently in the process of like tossing out of the bridge onto the deck, where Stello kind of rolls over and over and kind of goes and kind of clutches at the disconnected tubes. Genmo looks over at you, tips you a wink, and a moment before he thumbs the bridge doors closed, you register that he's wearing your flame bellows.
Shit.
Ott, you arrive in the crew quarters with Small Onion and see that the cabinet that was moments before shut. Actually, no, it's still shut, but Small Onion goes over and says, "This lock's broken," and kind of opens the door of it. And inside, you can see one ammo-less revolver, I believe. And as well as that, there is there's 2 flare rifles, 3 flares, and a small toolbox. And that's it. Flare rifles don't really do damage, they're just flares. Do a small amount.
But they are light, which I heard mutterings about. I will grab the flare guns and the and Ink's gun that I don't know doesn't have anything in it. Yeah. I don't know what I would do with the toolbox, so I'll leave that. I'll gather up the gun-looking things and head back up to the observation deck.
Absolutely. Back to the observation deck or back to the deck?
Oh, observation deck first, because like Naeus and Ink are still there as well, I think. So start handing things out. I'm not keen to get up into the danger too quickly.
They are, and feel free to emerge there and speak to them in some fashion. And you know what, like Clay, at this point, do you think you'd be going down to try and find the others, or are you going to try and do something else? Because if you're going down to try and find the others, I'll put you all back together again, if you get what I mean.
I think my immediate concern would be for the captain.
Okay.
But that might well involve bringing him down to the observation deck. If
shall we do that, and then everyone's in one place and so on and so forth. Okay, so pretty much everyone except Menfa and Genmo and the dead sister are now on the observation deck. all together. Feel free to yell at each other in a confusing fashion to update each other with stuff. We'll have a little bit of that, but you don't need to mention everything. But, go for it.
Who's flying the ship?
Genmo. I don't know what he's doing. He's locked himself in the bridge. And there's the mother's singing to a young Imago. There's another one crawling. We need
Flare gun,
Yes.
pistol. This was all that was in the cabinet. Small Onion unlocked it. They don't like light, or they'll get disoriented by it for a little bit.
I'm sorry, terribly sorry, Master Clay. Your weapon was gone.
Yes, Genmo has it.
What?
He's yes. I don't know what they're doing, but he's clearly had a plan.
Small Onion has kind of laid Captain Stellar out on the couch and is kind of making sure he's okay. He's sort of kind of, I'm fine, Onion. I'm fine. I could last a good while. Oh, it just hurts.
Is Small Onion? Is there another way onto the bridge?
No. We can.
The violent sort. What did he take of yours? Your belt thing.
Flame bellows. They can be very dangerous at close range.
Well, so maybe we don't want to be breaking into the bridge then.
Maybe we could. I mean,
Okay, time for some more rolls.
oh no!
So there's a couple of things. First off, we have to resolve what that Imago is doing that's hanging around. Who wants to give me... That's interesting. Here's a D10 roll that it lists a 0 for, which is not how D10s... Well, it lists a 0 and a 10, to be clear. But everything else is 2, and that's...
Oh, is there a modifier on it or something?
No, I think it's slightly wrong. I think it means to say 8 to... Yeah, it's okay, I've adjusted it. Because it was 5 options, each of them with 2, apart from one of them that had 3, and there was an extra 0. So ultimately, right. I think the table is slightly wrong. So that's fine. Who wants to give me the roll for what the Imago gets up to? That looks like John.
I'll go for it. 5.
So the you can all hear the sound of the Imago scuttling around on the outside of the craft, and there is a sort of odd chunking, crushing sound, and you see part of like the external fuselage that's like further up on the ship fall past the observation deck. So the actual like fuselage of the ship is taking damage from its kind of gnawing away at stuff. Yeah. And now let's have a also just roll for an event. Who wants to do that? Okay, Inga, off you go.
It's an 8 again.
It's an 8 again. There is another large thump on the deck.
Matt, did we all see the tanks on the deck of the ship? The one with the fire hose, right? Okay, yeah. Clay is going to. I'll try to ward them off with the fire hose. I think that's all we can do. I don't know. And I will, unless anybody says anything, I will rush to the deck again.
I'll have taken my... How many flare gunny things were there?
I believe there were 2 flare rifles and 3 flares, I want to say. Let me have a look.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'll have taken my revolver back and I'll have taken a flare. And I will follow Clay basically with the intention of, covering fire with a...
Sure.
a flare.
Yeah, there's 2 flare rifles and 3 flares. So yeah, like the flares get loaded into the flare rifle, or you can use them externally and just like, crack them.
That was my
throw them.
plan. Go
Yeah,
with
yeah,
like waving. To,
Yeah,
you know,
the like Jeff Goldblum approach.
Dr. Malcolm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, the
I'll
opposite.
follow and do the same then.
Okay. Naeus?
How well has the ship been flying since Genmo took over?
It has veered to a much faster downward trajectory.
Okay.
It's definitely not like worryingly weaving or anything, but he's definitely taking it downwards and also seems to be changing direction. The captain is kind of like waving at like a thing on like a device on the wall, and Small Onion says, "Oh, we could talk to him?"
Yeah, that's better than shouting through the door.
Okay, so Naeus is going to stay down here and try and talk to Genmo. Ott and Ink and Clay are going to the deck and trying to deal with the Imago. Is that correct? Wonderful. Okay, let's stick with Naeus for a second, shall we? So I presume you're going over there. You go over there. Small Onion is like put the captain kind of very laid him down and put a blanket over him and like has sort of set him down. He's kind of like looking very bleary, but not like in immediate, danger. He's like right next to the Lordling, and he kind of looks over at her, and she looks over at him, and she just kind of goes. The captain looks away with kind of, oh, this is all very troubling. Okay, you're over by the communicator. Small Onion is kind of like standing there in front of you, points at like a button, and then stands there like.
I will press the button.
What?
We want to talk.
Seems like you are talking.
We also want to get out of this alive.
All right, I've got no grudge against any of you. I just need to put this thing down.
Safely?
That's the plan.
Then you don't need to lock the bridge doors, Genmo. We're here to help.
Of course I do. You all want to go to Tack Town. That's not where we're going.
We just want to hit the ground. Safely. At the right speed.
I can get us down at the right speed.
Then open the doors, give us the bellows, and let us help.
I don't know if you think I'm stupid. Or whether you are. I am putting us down at the nearest feeding grounds because this is an opportunity I'm not missing. I'm getting us down there. I'm stealing an egg. And I need to beat all the other chalk collectors to this prize. The bridge doors are staying shut. And I'm going to put us down. So don't you worry your little head about it.
You're going to put us down right in the middle of a swarm.
That's the plan.
This shit is not intact enough for this.
Well, I suppose we'll find out.
One of the engines is sparking. This thing is barely in the air.
He's definitely disconnected.
Right.
I don't think that went well.
I think it didn't make things any worse.
So you let's jump in with the other three. You are up on the deck. Menfa is still there, trilling her little song. The little like infant Imago is still like weaving and seems captivated by her. There are 2 large Imago crawling all over the fuselage and doing various things. The bridge doors are still shut. what are we doing?
I'm just trying to follow Ink's lead with what to do with the flares, basically.
I might as I'm going onto the deck, I might sort of shout something towards Menfa, saying, "Can you repel them? Can you keep them clear? Because these are damaging the ship now."
Menfa seems very lost
Right.
in. You're not sure she can even hear you. She is lost in her kind of song. But I mean, for what it's worth, she's keeping one of them occupied.
Yes. Yeah. I'll go over to the hose and aim at the closest, largest one, I guess. And
My
Sure.
plan is to follow, and if any look like they're heading towards us, then spark the flare, basically. Keep it for as long as possible.
Okay. So, the first thing, the ship is kind of like gently tilted downwards, so it's certainly like a bit more difficult than it was to like get to that hose safely. But you managed to get to it. You can unhook it and unreel it. You're not entirely sure how it works because the end of it has like a number of sets of like fixtures that fix into separate like plugs on the side of the water storage. So if you want to figure out how it works, then I will ask you for a roll of a certain stat. Can you tell I'm vamping?
only
Let me
slightly,
get
but
to
it's
the
fine.
thing. Yeah,
I know what
it's
you're going to
still-
say, and it's going to be horrid.
Yes, I am going to say that it is probably mind.
Yeah, mine's my weakest stat. So anyone else looking will see Clay start to an expression of fear over his face as he fiddles around with this. Go on.
Can I use my tinkering to assist and give him an advantage?
You could just make the roll if you want and point out what to do.
If
Would
I
that
see
be
him-
preferable? I mean,
yeah.
I don't
So
I have a terrible mind stat, but I do have the benefit of advantage. So
my mind stat is 18, and I have no advantage. So.
oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that then. If like I'm gonna, because he said he's doing it, I'm gonna let him go over, and then if I kind of look and he's obviously struggling, then I'll go over him.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a 25 of 22. And that is a 13. Unlucky
Yeah.
for some.
You kind of realize that fixture goes on the end and it goes into that port, and you manage to point it out to Clay, who can rummage and kind of do it quickly as these things are sort of scuttling around. You know what I'd like though? You know, a thing I think would be good. Everyone on the deck, you can see these barges in the distance, plummeting out of the sky. There's a couple of Imago. The whole situation is a bit rubbish. And Naeus down on the observation deck also just had a bit of bad news about where the bean barge is going. So we haven't had them so far, but I would like a fear save, please, because I think it's about time we had something like that. So saves work in the same way as like the sort of ability rolls. You look at your fear stat and you want to roll below your fear stat, I think is the idea, right?
Yeah, and there's an added complication for those who are here, which is that there's a penalty.
Oh, is it the class-based?
Yeah, one sec, let me find it.
Oh, I should have mentioned earlier, maybe. Has anyone succeeded or failed on a double? Can you remember?
No, I've been
I've
checking.
not rolled any doubles.
Watch out for that.
The Lordling thing is fear saves made by your nearby friends are rolled with disadvantage.
That's it. Yeah.
What?
It's on your character
So-
sheet down at the bottom.
What?
Thank you. Yeah, because I make people uneasy.
The fear save
Sorry.
is different to a panic check, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Let's try this disadvantage.
Wow.
Okay,
fear
so
save.
so Inga and Clay are at a disadvantage, I'm afraid.
Well, that's a fail on the first one. so that's good.
Well, that's that.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
yeah, my first one was 17 under 21, but yes, my second one was a 98.
Okay.
Can you believe that I can beat that? So fear is one of my better stats. I've got a 67 and I rolled a 100.
Now,
Which leads to the question in this game: is that 0 or 100?
I
Oh,
have it written
it's-
down.
It must be
I do
100.
not have
It
it
surely
written
It's
has to be.
1 to 100 normally for the isn't it?
It can be 0 to 99 though in some games, but it's probably 100. Yeah.
It was either a critical fail or a critical success. Thanks to
Yeah.
double.
Yes, it's a critical
Here it
as
is.
well,
It's
right?
double, right?
Yeah.
But is it a double if it's like I know that?
I mean, I've just been using 2d10s, so they literally are the same. Red is first number, blue is second number. But yeah, so it's like super duper doubles.
Well, you know what? Then I'm going to say, well, it's not actually a judgment because I'm reading here, and the thing I was going to judge is actually a rule. So there we go. I would like you all to take 1 stress, and then I would like Ott to make a panic check. So what is your stress currently at, Ott?
Now at 1.
It's just now at 1. Okay. Then you're probably absolutely fine. Roll a d10, please.
That's a 3.
Yeah, you don't you feel a swell of panic inside you and manage to stuff it down deep inside where it can't do any harm ever, obviously. But otherwise you're all good. How did you do, Naeus, with your non-disadvantaged check?
I failed.
Okay.
I did 35 over 24.
Yeah, so that's just a point of stress for you. Okay. So with that in mind, we were looking at Ink to take the lead, were we? Or Clay? Well, you now have the hose, Clay. So what were you going to do?
I was going to direct it at the nearest large.
One of the
Yeah.
Imago. Okay. I don't think you have this is just a range thing, and I don't think there's any of the factors that would make it a difficult ranged attack, which means that you have to actually roll for it rather than it just hitting. Let's see. You are firing further than the weapon's intended range now. Visibility is not low. Trying to avoid hitting someone, trying to impress someone. No, I think it's fine. So I think you spray water all over one of these Imago. And with that in mind, can you please give a D10 roll for me?
Okay. 2.
Okay. You spray the Imago down with water. It gives a very discontented chirping sound and kind of like buzzes up into the air and kind of off into the swarm. You have successfully driven it away. Sounds like maybe Ink would be the next person to go in it, if only because of the panic check that Ott had to take. So what are you doing? Ink? There's 1 Imago left on the deck.
Is it near an edge, or is it?
It can be.
Kind
You
of...
can wait a moment for it to be just kind of near an edge. Yeah, sure.
Because I was basically like I said, if once they get close, I'm lighting the flare to disorientate them, hopefully.
Right.
And then
I lighting the flare and waving it at them, or throwing it at them, or
I'm keeping hold of it so that we have it for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe if they do look disorientated, try and nudge them over the edge so that they're not just. It's obviously nothing bad's going to happen to them, but at least they're away from us.
At least they're away from the ship. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think kind of like starting off the flare near which sparks erupt with like a bright red light. And like waving it at it. I don't think you have to roll for that. I think that's the thing. However, what you do have to roll for, as Steve did, is the reaction of the Imago. So could you roll a D10, please?
An 8.
An 8. Okay, with a furious whistling chirrup, the Imago immediately bounds in your direction and flails at you with its kind of like jagged front feet and its unpleasant looking mandibles. It's attacking you. So
Uh-oh.
there we go. But before it attacks you, our requisite amount of time has gone by.
Oh no!
So, oh god, I can't make out. So this is an hour after that. What happened? When did we take our break? That's what I want to know. Yeah, that must be.
Just when we saw the first imago.
Yeah.
At the window.
We took our break at 4:38, or we came back. From
Oh
break
no,
at
that
4:38.
doesn't help.
Okay.
So the last time I asked you to make rolls, was that? So we had the imago.
There was
Was
a pair of rolls, and I think the last one was a singular roll, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and I think those were all. On
There was another
different
8 because
right.
Inga, didn't you roll the last one? I think it was a.
Yeah,
I rolled the
that's
most
not.
recent.
That's not necessarily what my line is. Sorry, I'm saying a lot of things and then mostly to myself, and then sorry, but people are replying and I can't finish the thought. Sorry, I may need to be mildly silent for a second. But why don't you describe what you're yelling at each other while this confusing sequence of event happens?
I thought they weren't meant to like the light. What? No.
I'm probably not saying very much.
Yeah.
Okay, I know where we are.
Sounds a bit
I know
version.
where we are. It's all good. It's all fine.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's all good. So as this imago leaps for you, you feel the beam barge jolt again and like turn around and head. It has to be said, immediately into a huge swarm of imago that immediately start kind of like occasionally landing. They seem to be sensing something on the ship for sure. You can also see below, and you can see this, Naeus, as well, that holes in the tree canopy, which is now visible through the clouds below you, reveal thousands of skittering imago feasting on piles of the dead. The sky is now filled with cicadas. Who wants to give me an encounter roll?
I think it's
Oh,
Jonny's turn.
The last roll I made went so well for me. That's a 2, Matt.
That is a 2. Nearby, there is a cloudling air barge that's covered in imago. You can hear down. I'd say you can hear it down in the observation deck, Naeus. You can hear their radio operator yelling for help as their chalk engine bursts into flames. This is going to require a successful maneuver by Genmo to avoid crashing into the bean barge. So why don't we have a roll against his skill and see if he manages it? He's quite competent. So
Just
let's find out.
insane.
Yes.
Not two qualities you usually like to see together.
Oh no.
Did he
What
crit
were
fail?
you the last person to roll a D100, Inga?
Yeah, I think so.
What are the chances, John? I realize it's 2 separate people rolling, but what are the chances in rolling 2 100s on a D100 in a row?
Be 1 in
Oh my
100
God.
squared, so 1 in 10,000.
The bean barge crashes directly into the air barge that has its chalk engine aflame. There is a horrible grating noise, and even more of the fuselage cracks and sheds away. The bean barge is audibly creaking now. So, with that in mind, let's find out if anyone gets disemboweled by imago. Jonny. I'm just naming you random. Let's take a look at what's going to happen here. So the imago is going to get. I think it's safe to say it's going to get the first strike on you. I think that's kind of reasonable, right?
Seems fair.
Seems perfectly fair. And it's going to. Well, you don't have a melee weapon, right?
My crutches.
I mean, are you using your crutches if you've got?
I've definitely got one. Like my bad leg, I'm waving the flare with the other arm.
Okay.
So I may not be leaning on it, but I definitely have them with me. I'm basically carrying them everywhere.
Okay. I will allow you a stat roll to see if you have the presence of mind to try and use this as like something to fend off the Imago with, because otherwise it's not going to have to roll for its attack.
Okay.
So if you give me a, let's see, if you give me a, I mean, it's going to be mind, right? Yeah. Actually, mind or strength. I'll give you the option of those two.
Doesn't matter.
And if you can successfully make that roll.
Failed.
Okay. No. Take a stress.
Yep.
And then also take... have you got armor?
Broken armor.
So it doesn't have any armor rating? No. Okay. Well then, let me just make sure I roll this correctly. Yep. Okay. So you're going to take 11 damage, which for your purposes is 10 damage, right?
Yeah.
That's all you need to care about is the 10. You take a wound. Could you give me a D10 roll, please?
An 8.
An 8. Okay. The Imago leaps forward towards you, and basically it has these protuberances, these horns on its head, which it rams into your sort of sternum and groin with. You let out a kind of great howling noise of pain, and kind of like tumble backwards along the deck and skid away from it in a very dramatic way. Ott and Clay, can you give me panic checks, please?
So this is D10 rolling. You're aiming to roll over your current stress level, right?
Correct.
Yeah, rolled a 9.
Rolled a 7. My stress is 1.
That's absolutely fine. Also, for taking a wound, Ink, can you take a stress, please?
Yep. Do I also need to make a panic roll?
No.
Okay.
But not going great, I'd say. Up on deck, really. Yeah. Ott, we're not kind of in combat rounds so much, really, but like, what are you going to do? This Imago seems to be quite vicious and enraged now. And Ink has like taken a nasty wound to parts you don't particularly want to name by the look of it. And yeah.
Does anyone know how to fly one of those escape pods? I will try striking the flare for now to try and wave in the face of this one that's attacking Ink for now,
Sure.
to try and clear a path to potentially get back to an escape pod.
So you're not firing at it with the flare rifle, you're just like lighting it and...
I don't know how to fire one of those.
That's
I saw Ink do the thing with it in his hand, so I can try and copy that.
Sure, fair enough.
I wouldn't copy what I did.
You don't need to roll for it. Just give me a D10 for the Imago's reaction.
That's a 6.
That's a 6. Okay. It was kind of skittering along the deck, like you can't tell if it was skittering towards Ink or maybe away from Ink and towards something else it's attracted to. But either way, you kind of like bound slightly in front of it and wave the flare, and this time it kind of comes up short and just kind of like turns from side to side oddly. You can see it kind of like flickering its little legs up on its eyes, kind of trying to clean them, even though there's like nothing there. It seems to be sort of stunned in some fashion, frozen for a moment,
And then can I try and take advantage of this and just try and move back towards deck, back in towards the observation
back
deck?
towards the stairs. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely looks frozen. If you want to all get down to there together, it really does look like someone's going to have to pick Ink up, or at least
Yeah.
help him.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
please.
but that's not going to be me.
Oh no.
Oh God. Well, I'd still be trying to, like, if the hose will reach the second imago, I will be trying to drive it off again.
Trying to kind of drive it off
Yeah.
with some water.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just for the visuals, like, because we crashed into this other one that was like swarming with Imago. Presumably, it's not just the two left now. There's like a whole bunch.
No, you only have to currently deal with the two on deck.
Oh,
like,
okay.
there may
I
be
thought
others
we had like a swarm
flying
starting to
around.
come as well.
There's a swarm all around you, but there's only two like on the deck with you.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
And that other barge has like kind of ricocheted off the side of you, and it's like it looks like it's starting to crash. Yeah. So what we've got then is Otter's just run away down to a lower deck, and Ink is just kind of like howling in pain. Crash at the side. It doesn't actually restrict you. You're just, for the narrative, it felt like you should probably be howling with pain for a little bit. And Clay's turning the hose on the on this other Imago. Let's check downstairs. Let's check with Naeus.
Okay. I have an idea. Does this console also connect to the tannoy? Or is the tannoy only controlled from the bridge?
Small Onion tells you it's only the only way to address the entire ship is from the bridge.
Okay. I'm still going to go through with the other part of my plan. One of my items is a tape recorder. So I run out on deck, try to find something, like take in what's going on around me. Mother Mentha is still singing to that juvenile Imago.
It's a fascinating plan you have. My only question is, how does Naeus know about Mentha?
Because Clay came down and said that she was distracting one of them.
Maybe.
Didn't he?
I don't know. I honestly can't recall.
I can't recall either now.
Well, yeah,
And I
because you went up deck first.
Oh,
I think we joined you up on deck.
Oh
rather
yes,
than
and
you
then
came
I
back
had to
down.
come back
Yeah.
down because
Sure,
yes, all of
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
sure.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you're rushing up deck.
Yeah.
Carry on.
I will rush up and I will get out my tape recorder.
Okay.
And I think I will try recording Mempha's singing.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, you can scramble over the deck. You pass Ott on the way, who seems to be scrambling downwards. Okay.
I'm
And
wondering
Doing
then,
if it's
escape
too late.
pods!
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you are up on the deck. You can see the scene. You can see Ink sprawled over. You can see Clay desperately trying to hose down another Imago. And you can, see Mentha and this juvenile Imago wrapped in this sort of moment of hypnosis. And yeah, I guess you scramble over to Mentha. Yeah, you could try and record the noises she's making for sure.
Can I have a sense check to see if I think this would work?
What do you mean?
Of whether my plan of recording her and then using the recording.
I don't know what information you want me to tell you that you don't already have.
That's, yeah.
Your plan is to put it on the like loudspeaker system and therefore try and like make your way through the swarm without attracting the attention of more Imago, right? That's the idea.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you know what things are in your way towards doing that, I would assume. How to get through the bridge door, whether or not your tape recorder can plug into the loudspeaker system, which I would be churlish if I denied that, if I was like, oh, well, actually they're incompatible format. But I'm at least going to ask for a roll,
It's
to
true.
link it.
I also know that the Tano system is a bit crap.
Yeah, and it's also fairly likely that Genmo will not just happily. You know you have these things in your way. You don't need me to tell you that. It's your decision as to whether you carry on with the plan. It's a cool plan. I'll tell you right now, it's a cool plan. But does Matt subscribe to the rule of cool? That's what you need to ask yourself.
So basically,
The
it
answer
sounds
is
like the real
sometimes.
question is Matt a square?
Look, I've stated on previous streams that I have no problem beating up Matt Mercer.
Don't bring him
also,
into this. You can't bring up Matt Mercer every time.
Can I also just
I'll do
point
what I
out
want.
that we are spending our Sunday afternoons playing a TTRPG on the
Yeah,
internet.
none
so
of
we're
us are
probably
cool.
all pretty
Is-
square.
Is
What-
the timer
what-
still running?
Oh yeah,
Can we
of course.
just? Right,
That's a good question. I'll just record.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Clay, you spray the frozen imago with your water. Could you give me a D10 roll for the imago's reaction, please?
Now I rolled an 8. An 8 wasn't good, was it?
An 8 is not good, no, as the imago rounds on you and tries to strike you as well. You definitely haven't got anything that you're using as a melee weapon, right?
No.
The fire hose definitely does not count. It's not there's no episode of Deadliest Warrior where they measure the effect of a fire hose on a ballistics gel torso. So instead, it's just going to hit you. Are you wearing armor?
I am, yes. And my
What's-
armor isn't yet broken. 5 is its armor value.
Well, then, if it rolls less than 5 on 2d10, which is very possible, then that armor will be very useful to you. It does not roll less than 5. However, I will deduct 5 from this. So your armor is now broken,
Right.
and you take 8 damage.
Ow.
So it kind of leaps into your chest and strikes about your face and your neck with its horns, and you can feel like little trickles of blood starting to run down. It's kind of gashed at your face, and then sort of like tips back, kind of like making an odd screeching noise. You think it wasn't happy that you blinded it and then sprayed it in the face with water, as many of us would not be, but still. It's not that time quite yet. So I think we should catch it with Ott, because Ott sounds like Ott is just going to the escape pods and leaping in. But to get down there, Ott, you have to run past Small Onion, the Lordling, and the Captain. Are you going to say anything to them, or were you actually shouting to the escape pods?
Oh yeah, to the escape pods. We've got to get out of here. Who knows how to fly one of those damn things? As I'm still heading in that direction. I mean, I'm looking behind me. I'm assuming that other people are following my very sensible lead here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Small Onion kind of like looks over you and says, "They're automated, but they're not in the best repair. But maybe."
Which one's the best one?
I don't know.
Oh God.
2 of them are gone now.
Well, I mean, I presume I made my way all the way there anyway on this next little sort of
The captain sort of lifts a hand weakly and says, "Onion, tell them about the other. There's a thopter as well, a small thopter just underneath the barge. It can fit, I would say, 2 people comfortably and 3 dangerously. The escape pods can fit more, but they're a little.
I don't know how to fly one of those things.
I do, and the captain does.
Off we go then.
What about the others? They're not dead, are they?
They're coming down. I told them about the escape pods. They're on their way.
Small Onion looks up at the very empty set of stairs behind you and can probably hear a "Ah!"
All
And
right, fine, we'll go get them.
On that note, we are actually overdue. Who wants to make a who wants to make a roll for the encounter? That looks like Inga's pointing at Steve there.
Go on then.
Go on.
Go on then. One's good in this case, right? A one has to be good.
A one has to be good.
Is it not?
Genmo is taking the vessel further down much faster than before, presumably alarmed by the crash into the other air barge. Understandably so. However, in doing so, he seems to be taking the ship into a dense cloud, a dense covering of acid clouds. Clouds tinged with an odd kind of brownish, greenish tone that like drench you across your skin and leave you feeling like suddenly like a burning sensation all across your skin and kind of like just under the skin as well. Your entire body like seizes up slightly. I would say that none of you are holding on to anything. So you're all going to be knocked around by the turbulence. Ink is going to slide across the deck. Clay is going to probably like the sudden acid, like it's blowy in there, right? Clay and Naeus are going to fall over, essentially. So they're in roughly the same situation as Ink. Naeus, I would like you to make a what's like the interacting with like technology thing. I would like you to make a probably delicate work with your hands. I would like you to make a speed roll. Have you got tinkering? Anything like that?
Is that me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, then I would like you to make a speed roll to basically make like not shut off the recording.
$14. That's a pass.
Yeah, you've still got the recording. I'll say you've got the recording now as well. However, I would also say that the acid cloud covering gives you all, and by I would say, I mean the book says it gives you all 3 damage. Which also pushes Clay over to a wound. So if you could give me a roll on the wound table, please, Steve.
I rolled an 8.
You roll an 8.
Which
That
is the same
is
as last
actually,
time, I think.
it's the same as last time. I'm going to say that this kind of acid covering kind of leads to an immediate kind of like allergic reaction on your skin, and you kind of like scream out and immediately have these like odd, like brownish green, blisters opening up on your face. Naeus and Ink, can you roll panic checks, please?
At least
So
Artie's elsewhere. Oh, no.
I have a thing with my job condition is you've seen it all. Once per session, you can make a panic check with advantage.
Go for it. Go for it if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I am on 3 stress, and this seems like a,
Sure.
Oh, I rolled a 9, so
Okay.
it's fine.
Presumably, I take a stress for being wounded.
You also do take a stress for being wounded. Yeah. How did you do, Naeus?
I passed.
Okay.
In fact, I was wounded before, wasn't I? So I'm catching up to. I'm on 3 stress now.
Yeah. No extra imago are on the deck, but you are still. Mother Menfrel have gone sprawling as well. So, to summarize, there's now on the deck a quite angry imago. It doesn't seem to be. It seems to just attack you and then go back about its business. There's that. The juvenile imago is kind of like weaving around and like waking up out of its trance. Mother Menfrel is sliding around. The 3 of you are sliding around. What are we? You can hear Ott from below howling to go to the escape pods. What are you doing, folks?
I think yeah, heading downwards. My initial thought after getting attacked was find that gun, but I think yes, the lure of escape pods is definitely things are not going well here.
It's not the best situation, certainly.
Not really.
I could see Jonny nodding in agreement. I imagine Ink wants to get anywhere where the pain in his groin might lessen.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm out of here. If that's what everybody else is doing, I also don't want to go in an escape pod on my own and land potentially among loads of these things on my own. But
Sure.
equally, if everybody else is going, I'm happy to go.
Absolutely. How about you, Naeus?
I think, yeah, if everyone is going, especially if someone raises a shout, I'm going to go, but I'm going to try and take Mother Mempha with me.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you can reach her and kind of like lift her up and kind of carry her down. She seems very confused, and she kind of like looks up at you as she's going and is kind of like, are we leaving?
Yes, Mother, it's time to go.
Okay. You all scramble down to the observation deck, probably to the relief of Ott, who's kind of like, why is no one leaving? Small Onion sees you come down and says, okay then, I'll try and take the captain if someone can help the lordling. Is anyone going to help the lordling?
I don't think I'm in any position.
I mean, you can do.
I will do.
Okay, as you do, she kind of like reaches out and says, "Oh, Houndscatcher, give me Houndscatcher."
Yes, because it was near the couch, wasn't it? So yes, I'll pick it up and.
Okay. The group as a whole, you scramble through to the cargo holds. You go down the mechanical ladder, like one at a time. Obviously, in the case of like the captain and Menfer and the lordling, who has moment enough, Clay, to mutter to you that her name is Sipper, which I never like. I suppose I never flashed her image up, which I probably should have done by this point, and feels like it's largely irrelevant at this stage, but that is what Sipper looks like, and that's what Houndscatcher looks like as well. You basically scramble down below. The captain, Small Onion, says, I don't think the captain is in any real fit state to pilot the Thopter, so I will go in that. I think there's probably room for the lordling in there. If you, yes, Master Clay, if you put them in, who wishes to take the extra seat in the Thopter, which I assure you, I did very well in my practice lesson.
Take the Mother?
Apparently the escape pods are a bit dodgy as well. Is
would...
that a chalk-powered thing, the Thopter?
No. I would prefer if someone more active would take the rear seat in the Thopter, because there are emergency controls in the back.
Well, I suppose I'd better go in then, hadn't I? Lordling's in the Thopter, right? That's what we said.
Are you good with your hands?
Well, not bad.
I'm not sure we have time to argue about this too much. So perhaps, Master Ott, if you take that rear seat, Sipper can go here, and then there are two escape pods. They will fit. They will fit 2 comfortably, 3 uncomfortably, and 4 quite dangerously. Let's just have a count of how many more people we've got. So we've got Ink, Naeus, Clay, and Mother Menfa, right? And the captain. So yeah, you can. That's pretty safe, right? But I feel like Menfa and the captain should go separately. Again, they've got little controls inside that, like, you shouldn't just shove them off, right? Okay.
Sure.
All right. So how are we doing this then? Let's have this all noted down. So we have Onion and Sipper and Ott in the Thopter. We have Menfer in one of the escape pods and the captain in the other. So 2 are going to go with one of them and 1 with the other. How are we doing this? How is it being split?
I think. Go ahead.
I'll go with Menfer. I picked,
and I'll go with the captain because I feel he will need some help at some point.
I did think that.
And Clay, who are you siding with? I mean, going with?
It's the friend canoe all over again.
Oh no. Oh god, I'm just going to roll.
Go for it.
Menfer.
Okay, so you're going with Menfer and Ink. And the captain and Naeus are on their own. Okay, so here is what happens. Those of you getting into the escape pods go into them, and kind of like there are a series of instructions on the side of various buttons you need to press to seal the doors, make everything safe and drop out. And as you're doing that, Onion kind of lifts the service hatch in the base of the gantry-way, and there's a short other ladder you have to climb down through the air, essentially, that leads to like a little Thopter engine at the bottom. And it's, you managed, I'm not going to make you roll or anything, you like climb down. There are imago like flocking all around, but not paying any attention to you. Instead, they're crawling over the beam barge's fuselage and kind of trying to work their way inside towards the chalk engines. All of you managed to get down into the Thopter. Sipper kind of like, you don't know how. Presumably the same way she managed to kill her sister and stash her body in an escape pod while missing the end of one arm. But she kind of makes her way down and kind of collapses into the middle seat. And you think, at first you think she's unconscious until like her eyes kind of reopen and focus, and she clutches that large experimental rifle to her. With a sickening lurch, the Thopter detaches. An Onion calls back, "Oh, sorry, I should have told you to brace." As the Thopter basically starts plunging and spinning through the air. With a grind, the engines kick in and it rises up and almost like goes above the beam barge as like Onion wrestles with the controls and gets it up. You see the 2 escape pods, like you see a little flare on the side of the beam barge, and both of the escape pods like fire out and start plummeting through the air down below. They are ancient and were apparently in working order. However, can I please have a roll from John and another roll from Jonny of D10s?
This is the number of pieces we land in.
2 and 3. The escape pods like seem to successfully jettison and arc through the air briefly before they kind of start spinning in an odd fashion, and their descent slows somewhat and they start gliding to the ground far below amongst the trees. It has to be said where there are a lot of imago swarming, but down there is still better than up here, right? As for you in the Thopter kind of pulls around, and as it does so, Sipper kind of like leans over, squints towards the beam barge, which is still like angling and turning to aim down, where it seems where like the swarm looks to be thickest, where you can see vast piles of people on the ground, dead. You don't know if they were dead already or are dead because of the imago, and is aiming down towards it. Sipper gives a kind of grunting noise, hefts Hound's Catcher up and kind of awkwardly in front of her with one arm across the like line of the Thopter, leans over it. "I'd cover your ears." Do you do so?
Yeah, I guess so.
Sure. Onion just goes, "What?" And then the rifle kind of like gives a big thrumming vibration, and then a noise like a supernova echoes around you. The Thopter kind of rocks as Onion kind of clutches at the controls, and what looks like the bridge of the bean barge explodes with a very dramatic, like a solar flare going off. And the entire thing just immediately starts plummeting towards the ground. Sipper kind of leans back in his and says, I didn't like the look of him anyway. Wanker. And just kind of tips back unconscious onto the seat. The Thopter whirls in the air and starts gliding down towards the place where the escape pods seem to have landed. And that's the last voyage of the Bean Barge. There we go,
Excellent.
folks. Cloud Empress. So, if you've got any comments or questions, shove them in the chat and we will address them. In the meantime, a bit of promo. Check below for a number of links. You can find links to our social media, the various sites we stream on, our Discord, our Patreon, our merch store, all that lovely stuff. We run a bunch of campaigns on a weekly or fortnightly basis. Mondays is alternating between We Deal in Lead and Warhammer. Although I believe We Deal in Lead is ending not tomorrow, but the following Monday. Yeah. And then some distance after that, probably towards, I think, the beginning of July. Am I right, Jonny? We're kicking off our Masks of Nyarlathotep campaign.
It's looking to be the 22nd of July at present.
22nd of July. Awesome. But still, massive Call of Cthulhu thing. Hey, you asked, we give you. And that's what we're doing. Jonny returned to Call of Cthulhu as well, which he's very, very good at. We also do Simbroom on Wednesdays, and we've just started a campaign of Yellow King, which is happening fortnightly on Thursdays. And I might as well reveal this as well. That will be alternating for a short time soon with our first pre-recorded series, which is this guy right here, Steve, running some Delta Green. So there's all kinds of Lovecraftian stuff on the channel at the moment. Simbroom is feeling out of place and lonely. I guess I'll just have to put some massive cosmic horror monstrosities into it. Yeah, I hear no objection from John, so that's what's going to happen.
I thought you already had.
It's true, I have. Well, I didn't. Free League did. So there we go. We also run one-shots on a monthly basis. This has been one of them. The next one is sometime and will be something. And that's all the detail we have. John, do you want to start posting up some stuff? Don't Kick Food, welcome again. Yes, I flagged this one. I had to check and see this was a Cloud Empress adventure, an adaptation of one of Sony's official Troika adventures, which also involves murder and mass transit. I put that flagged, and then Steve addressed it in the chat already, but I will reiterate what he said. We were actually, when we ran Fronds of Benevolence earlier this year, the original intent was that we were going to run Slow Slay to Plankton Dance, which is almost certainly the story you're talking about. So we did nearly run that, but yeah. And actually, as it turned, I think it became apparent quite shortly after we said that the story that Bean Barge isn't necessarily a whodunit so much, because it's just like a murder happens. By the way, and also the Century Brood is the big problem and stuff.
That was very minor part of the plot.
Yeah. But it's fun that you thought it was the plot until the massive swarm of sentient insects arrived.
That's great. I love it. Absolute chaos.
Yeah. And it could that was all. I wasn't massaging results on that or anything. It was all just the randomness. It could have gone a lot worse. A lot. You didn't have. I think you only had one bit of damage from the Imago to the ship, which you could very quickly end up with way more. But the fuselage, just so you know, had 5 wounds, and it was down to 2. By the time we did that, if those other 2 wounds go, I will quote directly from the book. Ship cracks in half and falls out of the sky.
Well, going back to Fronds of Benevolence, I was having flashbacks to that particular barge incident.
Yeah. This is the second air barge that has failed us in this year. Spoilers, I guess, for Fronds of Benevolence. Next, please, John. Inga, I'm beginning to think there aren't any good situation roles here. No, it's a challenging game. It's definitely a challenging game.
I was
This
wondering.
is after they're like, oh, was it like a 1 or 2 or something you rolled? And like, that's got to be good, right? And then it's like, no, everything's just awful. There's no good results here.
Oh no, there's no
ever.
good results on like you have to roll for an encounter every 15 minutes after the Imago arrive.
There's no nice encounters. There's no like somebody comes out with like, you know, Pims and lemonade or something.
No.
I mean, I was
Like
hoping that one was better than 10, but
every 15 minutes there's an encounter roll, and also on those 15-minute beats, the existing Imago who you haven't dealt with in any way will attack a part of the ship.
Right.
And the different parts of the ship have different, you know, wounds, and different things happen if they get destroyed. You could definitely run this longer. But like it was going like, I mean, it wasn't my choice to end it, but like if you like, I think it was a right choice from you. You were like, this is all really fucked. Let's just get the fuck out of here. And I think that's absolutely valid. You can try and get into the bridge and like deal with Genmo. You could you could have gone anywhere with that. I had no existing like, you know, once we went past the beginning, I basically just left it. I knew what happened when, but otherwise I had no.
I think it was once Jonny just got like mauled. I was like, this seems real bad, guys. Like if we can try and like get into like Genmo, but like he's gonna fight back too, and then it's still a bit of a crapshoot as to whether or not we're gonna get a good result from getting into the bridge and trying to take control. And it was like, there's some apparently functioning escape pods that seem quite tempting right now. Yeah.
So Mothership is the system that this is based on. One of the key points of Mothership, for if you're writing an adventure for it, is they have a phrase: survive, solve, save, pick 2. And I'm kind of wondering whether this adventure was, because it did, you know, there were definitely, there we go. I was wondering about getting into the bridge. I was wondering about using the gun on the doors, the houndstooth gun, but clearly that wouldn't have. Oh,
well, it would and it wouldn't have. It definitely would have blown up the bridge, but it might bridge doors, but it might have blown up the thing. I kind of massaged that. I just wanted it to do something dramatic at the end, but like, I had already resolved that if you were like, let's fire this big experimental rifle at the bridge doors, that it would have blown up in the bridge doors. It does have just normal stats, but I was like, they got to have some way of trying to get in. Like, obviously, you could have tried to tinker your way in or like force your way in by various methods, but like you had other priorities, understandably. And like, I think this could definitely turn out very different, like running it with different groups at different points in time. So, what we got next, John? Nightbites, who I believe was it Nightbites who gave us a resubscribe as well. Yes, it was. Thank you, Nightbites. We always appreciate that. Running away is how the characters live to try again another day. Exactly. And Cloud Empress definitely, like, we talked about it a bit at the beginning, but it definitely is like not all situations need to be met head on with violence, and it kind of encourages you against that. And it's sort of like also encourages you with the knowledge that like violence in this game is violence. Like it is, you know, it's not something you enter into. You shouldn't enter into casually. Next. 42. These designs seem inspired by old Studio Ghibli movies. I am not familiar with Studio Ghibli. At first, I read it as Studio Ghibli. I don't know if that was what was intended or whether I just don't know another Japanese studio. Yes, and as someone replied in the thing, it is very much inspired by Nausicaa, which I haven't seen, but I know is a thing. I'm not a big anime guy, but yes, it's very much inspired by that, and a lot of the internal art is very, you know, anime manga looking stuff. So, yeah. But even though that's the case, I like it. So, yeah. Next, Jonny rolls in this. I mean, yeah.
I think that was before I even had my really bad moment. I think this was Inga making a roll for something, and I was
right
like,
at the beginning for the first roll.
Yeah. Oh, you look so sad after you got gored in the groin, Jonny, and in the game.
Yeah, weird that.
Yeah. Next. Don't Kick Food. It's interesting that they've taken the Mosh Panic engine into kind of eco-punk, maybe. I have to confess I understand half of that sentence.
Mothership.
Mothership.
Oh, Mothership is Mosh. Okay, yeah, sure, yeah. It kind of makes sense within the thing. I find that stress and panic systems make sense in a lot of games because they make sense in real life and people don't really address it as much because there's this notion of like, oh, you end up in a stressful or a violent situation and everyone just goes, I know how to do it and I will think exactly of what I want to do in this situation. Whereas in real life, like 95% of people go, and then die. So yeah.
And Mothership's perfect for that.
Exactly. Next.
Just to follow on from a previous comment.
42. Sorry, kind of spelled it the Japanese way. Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it does look kind of, it's got that kind of vibe for sure.
I flagged this comment right at the beginning of the session, just in case it became really, really pertinent at one point.
I would die to protect Small Onion. Didn't have to in the end.
As soon as they came on screen, I was like, "This is my character."
Yeah. Incidentally,
You've got Gordon the groin to protect Small Onion. If that
Absolutely,
helps.
in a
So halfway
way.
there.
Yeah. Incidentally, if anyone's curious about the escape pods at the end, if you roll an 8 or a 9, everyone aboard takes a wound. And if you roll 10, the escape pod blows up and everyone inside is dead.
That makes sense.
Those odds are better than I thought they were going to be, to be honest.
Cool. There we go, folks. Thank you so much. It's been a while since we've done a one-shot. This has been a lot of fun. We'll hopefully have more one-shots for you soon. But as always, it's the one-shots are always pull the curtain back. The one-shots are always the most difficult thing to corral people for, especially either around Christmas or in summer when people are doing other things. But we will continue trying, and we will hopefully get something back on screen with you soon. In the meantime, check out our weekly shows. There's 3 of them this week. So you've got no excuses at all. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Stay safe. Goodbye.